caring, liking is loving. Please consider joining our team and complete all the various tasks that helps us get to the FYP. We anticipate our daily restriction because the things we talk about apparently rub some feathers the wrong way, so it's on all of us to kind of keep the live up. We are crowdfunded here. If you want to support the channel, best way to do that is to use the various appetizers. Everything is at Factsstillmatter. There's numerous links in the link forest that is in my bio, including information about the No Kings protest coming up on the 18th. I should say the music festival, right? That is through the Indivisible link, which you'll find there. Speaking of Indivisible, there might be some things that hopefully we can talk about at some point in the near future. But anyway, thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate that. Speaking of Discord, if you haven't yet joined our Discord, we are a growing community that puts a lot of people in contact with a lot of like-minded folks who are there to help. There's a mutual aid section of our Discord, all kinds of resources available there. In fact, just about everything we talk about here on the show ends up in our Discord. So again, thank you very, very much. Big topic today. We spent a lot of time in this space saying, making the statement that it's all men until it's no men, and it's true, and it will always be true until it's no men, and how I believe women and how women should be believed. And there is an issue with the young men in our society because they are, first of all, the whole male loneliness epidemic thing, we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's just bullshitted excuses, in my opinion. The reason that men are lonely is because they are threats. Let's call it what it is. But I want this show today to be about how boy dads, your sons need you. And this is not a I want to be very careful. I've been thinking about how I wanted to talk about this. I know that the majority of single parents in our country are single moms, and you deserve so much credit. This conversation, though, today is the influence that dads can have over their children. And we're trying to, over their boys in particular, we're trying to break this cycle, right? We're trying to change behaviors so that the next generation of men and the generation after that and so on and so forth is better. We're going to get into crime stats. None of it's going to surprise you. We're going to talk about the red pill effect. None of that's going to surprise you either. But this is a conversation, and I'm really hoping that our audience today is usually split. It's about 50, according to the analytics, about 55-45 women versus men who are in our show every single day. And I know a lot of the men that we speak to here are dads. And if you're how I feel about hashtag girl dad, but hashtag boy dad today, because your sons need you. They absolutely need you. And they don't need you like you might think they need you. They need you to show them that there's a way to be in the world that is not by the societal stigma book. That it's okay to show emotions other than anger and lust. That you should be believing women. That you should learn to respect yourself. That it's okay to show emotions. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be transparent. It's okay to admit mistakes. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have intense conversations. It's okay to be emotional in these conversations. It's okay. It's okay to have this. It's okay to be this way, because unless we change it, it's just going to get worse. I'm looking at demographics in the last election. I'm looking at demographics as to so it's the tail end, it's the young end of millennials and Gen Zs for the most part. Young men are getting more and more conservative, thus being red-pilled a little bit more, thus being influenced by Republican and conservative politics more, and women are becoming more liberal. So that divide is getting worse and worse and worse. So we have to fix it. And that's the conversation I want to have today. A lot of other things that we have to cover, including some of the news out of Chicago. And this is part of the conversation today, right? Men, for the most part, celebrating U.S. military and National Guard troops and law enforcement and cowardice ICE. You don't see a lot of ICE agents that are women, do you? No, you don't. It's over 95%, last I checked. Or those that are actually agents, because we don't know. But situations in Chicago where children are being fucking zip-tied and American citizens are being arrested and harassed and beaten up. That's not what you claim to have signed up for, those of you that support this. You claim to sign up for going after the worst of the worst, violent offenders. And you've got video now of children being zip-tied? Really? situation in Portland, lie after lie after lie after lie. Thankfully, judges stepped in on 2 separate occasions. That's who we become as a country. We sort of, it's almost like we prioritize, I don't want to say it, but so normalize hatred. That's the word I'm looking for. Normalize hatred. Normalize cruelty. And who's going to stand up to it? Single biggest voting bloc in our country, still men, white people, and then divide that down even further, it's white men. So we've got to do something about it. So today it's calling all boy dads. Your sons need you. Tear gassing civilians. Yeah, exactly. I did. Thank you, Benny. I did see that. So before we get into that, because I got a lot, we're going to talk about the manosphere. We're going to talk about red pilling. We're going to talk about the demographics for crime rates. None of that should surprise any of you. Let me just fix this here. I'll do this one, and we'll do that, and we'll do that. Okay. Hitting that. We'll get into all that because it's necessary. We can go back to the origins of the red pill, which started with the whole Matrix phenomenon. But it's here now, and we're living in it. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? And this is a conversation for all of us. Now, my perspective is not unique, but I'm in the minority, right? As a single parent, I raised my kids primarily myself. Father of 2 boys and a girl, right? And it's rare. So again, this is not about me. Thank you, Swish Raiders. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. It's just there's societal stigmas that are connected to that. And believe me, I am not here to defend men. I am certainly not going to do that because we are responsible for the shit that we're in now. I'm not here to defend men. What I'm here to do is to call it out, to say, okay, if we want to do things different and we want the future to be better, it has to come from us. Like I say every day, a society built by people who look like me, to benefit people to look like me, to protect people who look like me. That's the goal of today's show. So we'll call it out. Let me just do this again. Thank you guys for helping us hit those gift goals right out of the gate. It's awesome. We'll do a donut because who doesn't love donuts? Okay. Let me first start with a couple of news items. We're gonna talk about the situation with the South Carolina judge. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but there's the House of South Carolina judge criticized by Trump administration was set ablaze. Now we could call it a coincidence, right? So state law enforcement is investigating the house fire on Edisto Beach, which began around 11:30 a.m. on Saturday. Sources told the news outlet. Judge Diane Goodstein, that's the name we should remember, was reportedly not at home at the time of the fire, but at least 3 members of her family, including her husband, former Democratic State Senator Arnold Goodstein, and their son, have been hospitalized with serious injuries. According to the St. Paul's Fire District, which responded to the scene, the occupants had to be rescued via kayak. Law enforcement have not disclosed whether the fire is being investigated as an arson attack. This has to do with voting, access to voter rolls in the state of South Carolina, of which she stepped in and said, no, this violates privacy and a whole bunch of other things. And then immediately the Trump administration went out and attacked her. And Stephen Miller in particular went on X and said that liberal judges are a threat, blah, 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 blah. And then within hours, her home exploded. Is that just a coincidence? Is that just a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe. Doubt it. I'm sure eventually we'll probably find out who's responsible because that's how law enforcement works. And you want to make a bet? Who's going to be responsible for that? It's part of the conversation today. And then we have the situation in Portland, right? Let me just read you a little bit more about the details from South Carolina because I think it's telling. The Department of Justice asked South Carolina's Election Commission to turn over detailed voter registration data of all 3.3 million registered voters. Now, if you live in South Carolina, you could be hardcore MAGA. This is completely contradictory to everything that you've told yourself that you believe. Government intervention, big government, big brother, okay? Big brother. That's what this is. The U.S. Department of Justice has asked South Carolina's Election Commission to turn over detailed voter registration data for all 3.3 million registered voters in the state. The request includes full names, dates of birth, residential addresses, driver's license numbers, and the last 4 digits of Social Security. And by the way, that's been granted. Okay? So if you are a Republican, a conservative, a small government voter in South Carolina, you should be abso-fucking-lutely livid about something like this. South Carolina voter Ann Crook sued to prevent the data release, arguing it would violate both the state constitution's privacy protections and state statutes that bar disclosure of certain personal information. Circuit Judge Diane Goodstein issued a temporary restraining order blocking the SEC from turning over the data until a hearing. South Carolina Supreme Court later lifted the block, saying that the lower court's restraining order was improperly granted. Supreme Court's decision cleared a path for the state to share the information, though debate and litigation continues. In early October, Circuit Judge Daniel Coble denied a request to issue a new injunction preventing data transfer, while a memorandum of understanding is negotiated between the federal and state agencies. The South Carolina Election Commission, or SEC, has stated that much of the data requested, names, addresses, birth dates, is already publicly available or may be purchased by registered voters. The SEC says it will only decide to share data via public commission vote with at least 24 hours of notice. In the course of this controversy, the SEC abruptly terminated its director, Howard Knapp, by a 3-2 vote after a closed meeting lasted several hours. The commission said the dismissal was unrelated to election operations. Sure, the removal added to scrutiny over how the commission was handling it. Look, again, if you live in South Carolina, you should be so fucking livid about this. We all should, obviously, but of course, people who truly care about these kinds of things do. But Stephen Miller tweeted after the decision by this judge to put an injunction on, said that liberal judges are a threat and they're a danger to democracy. And then within days, hours, the judge who actually did this and her Democratic husband, their house explodes. Just a coincidence, though, I'm sure, right? Just a coincidence. Yeah. And then we had the situation in Portland. And, the funny thing, well, I'm not going to say funny. What you're seeing in Chicago and what you're seeing in Portland, these are, let's call it what it is. I know it's horrible, and it is. It's an attempt to scare people. That's what it is. And it's working. But from what I've been watching, so many people in these areas are just standing up to this bullshit. Because ICE are cowards. Anybody who there's numerous reportings of people who were not ICE officers at all, not law enforcement, not a member of the military, just fucking racist bigots who want to get their hands on brown and black people. Period. Full stop. And because most of them are now cowardice, thankfully, Gavin Newsom in California says, listen, you want to be an ICE agent, you want to be a federal agent, you want to be anybody, you can't cover your face. That's how it works. So people, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, alt-right. And once again, let's go back to this situation with the house exploding just coincidentally. I'm sure that the right will attempt to spin this as a left-wing violence. Meanwhile, you've got Stephen Miller calling for liberal judges to, that are threats. And you've got the president of the United States claiming that Portland is a war-ravaged city. But I'm sure that's got nothing to do with cranking up the rhetoric regarding political violence, right? Because we know the overwhelming majority, I'll say it slowly for those of you in the back, the overwhelming majority of politically oriented violence comes from the right. And it's not even close. Not even close. People are trying to spin this on the trans community now. In fact, violence in general, the trans community is the claims of violence and or convictions underrepresent their community because the crime rates are significantly less on a percentage than the representation they have in our community as a whole. So miss us with that bigoted transphobic argument as well. We know who the source of the crime is. We know where the violent rhetoric comes from. In fact, we know that the overwhelming footprint on violent crime and petty crime in our country, we know. We'll talk about it. Men in general. Segment it off even further, and it's white men. So we'll get into that conversation. So let's talk about Portland, because Portland is another city that apparently is being targeted. Now, we can talk about this in this. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Senator Ron Wyden, who's the senior senator from Oregon, has been investigating the financial connections between Jay Epstein and all of his nefarious network of fucking PDF files. And he happens to be the senior senator from Oregon. And then he starts talking about this publicly, and then it's a coincidence that the president and Stephen Miller and Pete Kegsbrath and others want to target Portland and to use these claims that it's war ravaged? Are you kidding me? If you respect law enforcement, MAGA, if you say it's let's back the blue, right? Then you would take the word of the Oregon chief of police, the Portland City chief of police. He said, listen, this is one square block. This is one square block. And by the way, if you bring in the military and the National Guard, you're going to escalate it. And guess what fucking happened? Sure enough, are you fine with American citizens standing there exercising the constitutionally protected right to peacefully protest, to be fucking pepper sprayed and flash grenades and tear gas? Why? Because Portland is blue? Because Portland has some of the most protective laws for women's rights to their body in our country? That's the issue you have? Because the citizens of the state of Portland said, you know what? We think women should have rights to their body. By the way, the two states that have the most protections for women's right to bodily autonomy, Oregon and Vermont. So if you want to move, those are safe places. They're not crime-ridden. They're not war-torn. They're not war-ravaged. They're just people who think that women should have fucking rights to their body. And they focus on education, and they focus on healthcare. Massachusetts too, you're right. They focus on education, and they focus on healthcare. And they talk about, federally subsidized programs to make sure kids are fed in school. That's war ravaged? Okay. So this is what the president had to say about Portland, because there's been decisions made over the past couple of days. A judge saying, no, you can't do what you're trying to do. He got dunked on on Friday and then dunked on again yesterday because of what they tried to do by ignoring the order. So this is what the president had to say about the judge. Judge that he appointed, by the way.
Well, I disagree with that judge. I wasn't served well if they put judges like that on. I wasn't served well.
I wasn't served well. Sir, the judges are not there to serve you. That's a very telling statement. That's kind of like dictator light. I wasn't served well. What he were talking about, he's talking about the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation, who makes these recommendations for judges. That's where Amy Boney Carrot and Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch came from. That's the list, right? That's the list. The judges haven't served me well. They're not your fucking judges, you fucking idiot. So here's that statement.
I agree with that judge. I wasn't served well if they put judges like that on. I wasn't served well by the people that pick judges, I can tell you. Things like that are just too bad. I appointed the judge and he goes like that. So I wasn't served well. Obviously, I don't know the judge, but if he made that kind of a decision, Portland is burning to the ground. You have agitators, insurrectionists. All you have to do is look at the television, turn on your television, read your newspapers. It's burning to the ground. The governor, the mayor, the politicians are petrified for their lives. And you have a judge like that, that judge ought to be ashamed of himself.
The judge ought to be ashamed. Portland burning to the ground. Here's another statement. Insurrectionist, you hear that word? Nice.
Will you follow the judge's order and do it?
We're going to look at that. It was amazing. Portland is burning to the ground.
It was amazing that Portland's burning to the ground? Okay.
Insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. And yet the politicians who are petrified. Look, the politicians are afraid for their lives.
Says who? Have you heard one elected representative in the city of Portland or in the state of Oregon come out and say that they are in fear for their lives? Have you heard one? I haven't.
That's the only reason that they say, like, there's nothing happening. And you've seen it. The place is burning down, and they pretend like there's nothing happening.
No, it's not burning down. You're a fucking liar.
So we'll take a look at the order. We haven't seen the order yet.
So the judge overruled them twice. Temporary stay, 2 weeks to kind of figure this out. The claims that they made that there's not this violence. And then the Trump administration tried to circumvent that by saying, okay, if we can't call up the Oregon National Guard, we'll just call up National Guards from other states. And the judge said, nope, can't do that either. Back to the fucking drawing board. Why fucking, exactly. Why the fuck, why lie about that? I know why. Because the white men that support him love this shit. And he's got to get their attention again, because those same people were like, why the fuck are we not releasing the Epstein files? What's going on there? What's happening there? Portland, Oregon? Portland. You ever been to Portland? I used to live in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? Seattle and Portland, beautiful cities. In fact, they remind me of New England in a way, just bigger. They remind me of Burlington, Vermont, just bigger. Portland is war ravaged. Do you really? Again, I know I get some MAGA visitors in here. I know you guys love me. Kiss, kiss, smooch, smooch. Do you really think that Portland is war ravaged? do you really think that? You really think Portland is war ravaged? So much so that we have to send the fucking military in? Does Portland, last time I checked, Portland, the only border Portland shares is with, or Oregon shares is with Washington State and California and the Pacific. Is that an invasion? Is there an invasion happening there? Do you get it? Yeah, hippies and tree huggers. Exactly. Really? Do you understand when we say to the conservative right, the Christian right, you know, those people who truly care about the health and well-being of others? Do you understand that you're just continuing to be lied to stoke fears, to go to the worst common denominator in your soul, your racism, your bigotry, your transphobia, your homophobia? So you'll accept the United States military being ordered into the streets of American cities in violation of just about every fucking law there is because you hate those communities so much? Really? Really? Yeah, you're going to go after exactly. Thanks, Toodle. You're going to go after the mountain bike gangs? You're going to go after the hikers? The granola eaters? The retrofitting VW camper buses crowd? They're such a fucking threat, right? Okay. Real quick, let me just make a couple of notes here. I don't think I managed to thank any folks from Friday for their kind contributions. Angela, I want to thank you, Angela, for your kind. You said, thank you for all you do. I thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. William said, thanks for keeping it real. What did William say? William said, love you and your show. Let's take back our nation. I agree, William. Thank you very much. To Amy Peterson says, thank you for all your work you do, full of knowledge and easy on the eyes. Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And also to Taya. Taya said, thank you. Well, I appreciate all you guys. You guys are very, very kind. Appreciate y'all. But seriously, that's the argument that you want to make? Portland? Wasn't the entire intention to use the United States military and the National Guard to fend off the invasion of brown-skinned people? Wasn't that what it's about? Right? Yeah. And using tear gas and pepper spray on our own citizens? Yeah, I know the book club crowd in Portland, they're rough. Here's the thing. This is the thing that really gets me. Conservatives, the libertarian crowd in particular, right? The libertarian crowd and conservatives and MAGA, for years, all they screamed about was government intervention. Big government. Stop attacking the ICE agents? How about we stop attacking innocent people, Guardian? Stop attacking the ICE agents? Oh, we're now defending ICE agents now for zip tying kids? You really want to die on that hill, Guardian? That's the hill you want to die on? Stop attacking ICE agents? Really? That's wild. Stop attacking ICE agents. You don't get it, do you? You really don't get it. You've seen the video of children being zip tied? So children should be zip tied? You're fine with that? You're fine with that, right? You're fine with children being zip tied? You're fine with American citizens exercising their constitutionally protected rights, standing there protesting and being pepper sprayed? Yeah, the ICE agents should obey the law. Yeah, they should. So you understand what the law is. The law is you can peacefully protest. The videos that Fox has been showing you are from 2017. They're just regurgitating them over and over again. Stop attacking ICE agents? How about ICE agents identify themselves as they're supposed to? How about the cowardice fucking ICE agents take their masks off and produce warrants? How about they do that? Funny that you say that. That's wild. That's how far we've fallen. That's an example. Stop attacking ICE agents. Okay. So Portland, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to say, now we're going to just pick and choose. And we know from the research from the Department of Justice and from the National Institute of Justice and the DHS and from the FBI, et cetera, we know where the crime happens in our countries. It's not in blue states. It's not in cities like Portland. And this is the thing that always gets me when we have these conversations, is because the right, in defense of their own bullshit, wants to say, oh, it's a blue cities. Well, can we agree that every state has a blue city or more? If the answer is yes, then how come the highest crime rates are still in red states? Funny how that works, right? But I know data. I know data. I was in a live over the weekend at some point. I forget when it was. And someone was challenging me at my knowledge of the Constitution. I said, I have a feeling I know a little bit more about the Constitution than you do. He's like, no, you don't. I'm like, all right, what's Article 3, Section 3? He's like, I don't fucking care about that. Okay, so the same people, the same pro-life crowd, right? How can anybody on the right be okay? How can anybody on the right be okay with massive government overreach by sending the National Guard and or the U.S. military into American cities? You're fucking pathetic hypocrites. And the majority of people that are cheering it on are men. The majority of people that are cheering it on are men. Okay. So that's Portland, and then the lies that the Trump administration wants to tell you, which is they're right. Weak men, no less. They can say whatever the fuck they want because guess what? They're protected by free speech. So they can stand there and lie to the American public every single day. But they won't. They won't tell the truth. They'll just lie because their voters will believe it. Hi, Purple. How are you?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to say hi. I haven't talked to you in a couple weeks. It's Heather. So I just wanted to say hi, and I wanted to say thank you for everything that you do. I just really appreciate it. You always kind of bring me back to reality. Sometimes I panic and I think we're hooked, but then I remember there's so many people out there that are like on the right side of history, and so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
I really do.
Of course. And a little friendly reminder, everybody take time for your mental health. My husband and I went on a little impromptu camp trip, and it really helped. And I also went a couple weeks ago with my dad to the Allegheny River in PA. And my dad took some pictures of the Milky Way, and it was just me and him, and we got to father-daughter bond, and it was just really wonderful. So everybody, make sure you do that, especially for me, my parents are elderly. I'm really worried about them with everything that's happening. With the cuts to Medicare and possibilities of Social Security and just rising food costs and everything. So just, we don't know what's going to happen. So just everybody make sure that you spend time with your loved ones. And that's it.
I
That's
agree.
what I want to say.
I agree, Heather. Like we say oftentimes, I always bug my mods to do this. Big Shark, go outside and touch some grass. So I'm glad you got a chance to touch some grass. And thank you for your kind words. I love you, friend. Be safe out there, okay?
I love you too, Steve.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. She's right? You know, joy is resistance, you guys. And that's what they want. They want us to be, oh, sorry, something in my eye. They want us to be demoralized and beaten so much, but I'm fucking angry. And I want you guys to be angry too. And that's what this is about, right? We need to be angry, and we see examples. We see people doing these things, standing up. We see judges doing their job despite the resistance. We're watching the Trump administration's poll numbers just crater. They know that they are upside down. They know that they're getting blamed for the government shutdown because it's on them. They know it, and in an attempt to try to win back their base, they're choosing to use violence and cruelty. Think about that for a second, right? They are protecting predators by not releasing the Epstein files. They're shutting down the government based on a bunch of fucking lies. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit in just a moment. And now they're seeing the poll numbers crash. Prices are going up. People are losing their jobs. We are losing jobs as a nation, hand over fist. We're bailing out Argentina's government. By the way, before we get back to the topic, our friend Legend made this for us. Make Argentina great again. We're bailing Argentina out to the tune of $20 billion. And guess what ended up happening? Argentina went to China and sold their soybeans. So that fucked over the American soybean farmer. A lot of them voted for Donald Trump. So we can bail out the Argentinian government and then have it backfire, and yet we can't extend health care for American citizens? You guys voted for that. You fucking own it. You own it. So there's that. So there's that little thing. Doesn't sound like America first to me. Not one bit. Not one bit.
Oh my God, I'm actually shaking
morning,
right
man.
now.
Hey, Manny, how are you?
I'm good, dude. I fucking love you, bro. Oh my God, man. I'm such a big fan.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. What's on your mind?
I'm sure you've heard of Dean. I'm from Australia, by the way. But I'm sure that you've heard of Dean Withers, right? I was a
I have.
fan of his until the whole Kirk disaster, and I'm not sure if you've made a vid or talked about it previously. But what are your thoughts on that whole controversy?
What specifically about how about Dean's reaction to it? I don't really speak about other creators. I don't think it's my place.
Okay.
I mean, that's just personal. That's just my personal choice. I mean, people can make their own decisions for whatever reason. I think that Charlie Kirk was a bigoted, horrible human being, but I do not believe he should have lost his life. I don't believe he should have lost his life for expressing his speech.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I feel like I was asking too much, but I love you. Keep it up. I appreciate everything you do. Later.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Appreciate your kind words. So again, we've got a series of lies being told about the city of Chicago, a series of lies being told about crime, series of lies being told about political violence, series of lies being told about Portland, and then lies regarding the government shutdown. I want to make it very, very, very clear. Okay, it is against federal law for undocumented people to receive federal benefits. It is against the law. It's clearly outlined in Medicaid, Medicare. It's clearly outlined in the ACA. It is crystal clear, even from a reimbursement perspective, because right now it's trying to say, well, states are being reimbursed. It's still against the law. You have to account for the dollars you're being reimbursed for by the federal government. States want to do it with their own budget. That's up to them. That's it. That's it. It's against the law. And Republicans know it. That's one thing. That's a political talking point that they're losing on, because 60% of Americans blame either the president or Republicans in Congress for the government shutdown. They are losing. That's one thing. At the end of December, the ACA subsidies end. And this is right now, I just got a notification because I'm in the marketplace. My premiums are going to go up $750 a month. Okay? It might even be more than that, but that's the estimate, because I had to change the level, and that's the cheapest option. They're going to go up $750 a month. That's just a few $100s less than my fucking mortgage payment. And that's just me. And it's going to affect other families even more. And that expires at the end of December. So the Republicans in Congress have shut down the government because of lies, because of rhetoric, and so they can fire federal employees, lie about it, and blame brown-skinned people. You, everybody. This is not just ACA people. This is not just people on Obamacare. It's the Affordable Care Act. We'll call it ACA. It's everybody's premiums. This is what people don't understand. Whether you have private insurance, whether you have insurance for your employer, everybody's costs are going to go up. Everyone's. Because of what happens because of the for-profit health insurance industry. When you reduce competition, the prices go up. Okay? So you've got a situation now where healthy people, and I'm not like super healthy, but if I have to make some decisions, I might have to. The problem is I carry my kids, and my daughter has to go through annual checkups for her cancer. I have to have insurance. So I'm stuck. So many millions of Americans are in the same position, get to figure out a way to pay for it, which we will, whatever that looks like, right? Start an OnlyFacts page. I'm totally fucking kidding. The mods are just gonna hammer me for that. I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, that's real life for millions of Americans. Millions of Americans. Everybody's insurance is gonna go up because of that. Everyone's. And the Republicans in Congress, MAGA Republicans in the Senate, MAGA Republicans in the House have shut down the government. Now, the argument is going to be that no, there needs to be a majority. It's filibustered in the Senate. I talked about this. Thank you, William. Sorry, I should not have said that. My bad. As soon as I said it, I realized it was a mistake. Anyway, thank you all. The filibuster does require 60 votes, but there's what's referred to as the nuclear option. And I think I talked about this on Friday. The nuclear option gives anybody in the Senate, in the majority party usually, because they're the ones that want to pass the legislation, to introduce a point of privilege that gets voted on by a simple majority. That point of privilege would say, I'd like to circumvent the filibuster and make this particular item votable by simple majority. They have that tool. In fact, John Thune just did it a few weeks ago to get ambassadorships and sub-cabinet positions approved. They may not want to use it anonymous, but they can use it. So they're lying to you. And your healthcare costs are going to go up. And people are losing their jobs. Never before in a government shutdown have people lost their jobs. Never. This is the first time that it's ever happened. And it doesn't matter if it starts a bad precedent. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. The point is that the lie. The point is that they're lying. Okay? Never before has a government shutdown led to people losing their job. But we know from Project 2025, when Donald Trump tried to distance himself from it, that is a goal to reduce the size of government. And they're using the government shutdown by design to justify it. Will the Dems? How do you know the Dems will do it when they get power? How do you know? Anything is subjected to the filibuster. Anything can be changed. The rule can be changed anytime. That's not my point. I think, Anonymous, you're missing my point. The Republicans are lying about it, saying that they need Democrats to pass it. They don't. They could do it themselves. If they felt so confident that their legislative agenda, their economic policies, whatever it might be, if they felt so confident that they were for what's best for the American public, then they could do it. So then why aren't they? That's the point. So let's listen to some of the bullshit. This was Mark Kelly going on on Fox News with Peter Doocy. And then interesting how Mr. Trump responded to this. So Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona.
Well, the federal law is that undocumented individuals do not have access to Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, even the Affordable Care Act.
True.
That's the law.
True.
So this is a red herring from my Republican colleagues.
Correct.
They don't want to, help folks out because They needed that money. And should be pretty simple for people to understand. When they gave that extension of the 2017 tax cuts, which helped out the richest Americans, it was partially paid for by taking away Medicaid and taking away these ACA tax credits for people who just can't afford health care.
Again, those ACA tax credits, those subsidies expire midnight on December 31st. Happy New Year. You've lost your health insurance. That has to be fixed. Republicans control the agenda in both the House and the Senate. Democrats have no power. They keep saying they want to do it. Mike Johnson has denied bringing the House back into session. By the way, still denying the swearing in of Representative Grijalva from Arizona, who would be the 218th vote to release the Epstein files. Okay? It's going to expire. So your health insurance, everybody, this is what people don't understand. And this is what drives me fucking crazy, that the horrible fucking messaging from the right, from the left. Everybody's healthcare costs will go up. It's really simple. Messaging, right? Republicans want to cancel your healthcare. Big billboard. Big, huge blimp. Sign behind a plane. You could fly it over the Pats game last night as they beat the Bills, but that's a different conversation. Go Pats. It's why the fuck are they not messaging it harder? Exactly, Jamie. We pay for the uninsured. People don't understand this. Your healthcare. We have I'm going to get into our topic today because it's important, but this is all related because this is what people are voting for. Okay. We have a pay-for-profit healthcare system in our country. First of all, that is just fucking diabolical and absolutely cruel. And as someone who used to work sort of peripherally in that industry, I've seen it firsthand. United Healthcare, this was uncovered right after the Luigi moment, right? We'll call it the Luigi moment. United Healthcare, like so many others, have a line item on their P&Ls for claim denial. Like, we anticipate denying 30% of our claims this year. So here we are in a situation where the Republican government shutdown, kicking millions of Americans off their health care and then causing the cost of health care to rise for everyone. That needs to be resonated from the fucking highest mountain and from the highest rooftop. Republicans are gutting health care. Republican gutting health care will lead to millions of Americans losing their health insurance and in some cases losing their life. Period. Everyone's costs will go up across the board. Why? So the Republicans in government can pay for their tax cuts, and so they can use rhetoric like illegals as fuel for their base because they know their base hates brown people. Period. What? And why is Chuck Schumer getting rid of rural America's access to health? Chuck Schumer's not doing that, big face. Not even close. I just sent you an invite because I'd be curious as to what your comment is. We can talk about it. Because your insurance is going to be gutted as well. I don't know if you know that, but I sent you a request. Okay, you're not available to join as a guest. Of course. Big face. Do you understand? Because you said the Schumer shutdown. It's not Chuck Schumer. He doesn't hold the keys to the door, like literally. He doesn't hold the keys to the door. Republicans wanted to pass this, they can use it. They can use the nuclear option and they can open the government and they can negotiate in good faith to say, listen, we need to make sure that those subsidies don't end by the end of the year. But we know that the Republicans want those subsidies to end because they don't give a fuck. They don't fucking care. They don't give a shit about you. They care about their corporate fucking donors. They care about tax cuts for the richest among us, and they want to turn us into a fucking white nation. Let's call it what it is. It's just bullshit. Okay, let me bring on one more guest, and we'll continue. Then we'll get into our topic today because I got a lot of things I want to talk to you guys about. I'm a liar. What am I lying about? What am I lying about, Strupp? You won't come up. I know you won't. I want you to know, Strupp, that this affects you too. Okay? Your healthcare costs are going to go up because of Republicans. I don't know why you don't want to believe that. Who's lying to you? The question is, Strupp. And are you believing it? Seems like it. Okay. So I played Mark Kelly's interview with Ducey, right? Of course, the president wasn't happy. Why is Fox News and Peter... I'm going to do this.
Why is Fox News and Peter Ducey putting on Democrat Senator Mark Kelly to talk about totally unabated or challenged health care? The fake spin is so bad for Republicans that it's hard to believe that we win. What? It will be very unfair in the future when they don't have Trump to fight for them. Therefore, we should fix it now. I'm watching this interview. It just doesn't end. Fox should either get on board or get off board now. But at this point, it just doesn't make any difference to me. They suck up the ratings because of me and then spin them in Democrats' direction. They refuse to put up polls that correctly show me at 65% in popularity.
There is no poll anywhere that shows him at 65%. None.
They refuse to put up polls that correctly show me at 65% in popularity, a Republican record. But if I have a fake bad poll, many of which are done by Fox, one of the worst pollsters out there is Fox News poll, they put them up immediately and with gusto. Ooh. Republicans are so tired of this fight with Fox, always trying to be so politically correct. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Now, you're seeing the word politically correct show up a lot more. They're using that a lot more now because they're going to try to capitalize on what they refer to as wokeness and or political correctness. So they're moving a little bit away from woke, and they're moving into politically correct. So they think political correctness shouldn't apply. So therefore it's justified putting, zip ties onto children and or blowing up judges' houses or whatever it might be. So the argument that he's trying to make now, because a lot of the Fox News polling has been like, dude, you're getting hammered on this shit. They don't like you. Do you know I'm using a Muppets voice? Yeah, I did know that. Yeah. They love their buzzword. They love their buzzwords. So that's just an interesting kind of, I don't know, I call it a pivot, call it whatever else you want. We have to talk a little bit about the meeting that he had with Russ Vought. So you guys remember, Russ Vought is the director of OMB, Office of Management and Budget. But OMB is like the HR department for the federal government. They're the ones that determine federal government allocations. Once Congress approves funding for agencies, the OMB's job is to make sure that there's staffing in place. They are literally like the HR department for the government. And he's like the wrong one to be running this since he's the one from Project 2025. Of course, Trump tried to distance himself from it, right? So there was about a year and a half ago, there was a hot mic moment. Someone captured Russ Vought in a very uncompromising conversation. So I'm just going to play the sound for you. And it sort of speaks to not only who he is, but how he wants the future of the Christian nationalist movement in our government. And he references J.D. Vance a lot. So here you go.
So I am very happy with the J.D. pick. I think it's transformative for sure. Yeah. And he's, think of him as a member version of what we do. Yeah. So there's no think tank, no policy organization, no battle plan creator other than us for the worldview that I think Donald Trump has and that JD has. The best example is like the campaign selected me to be the platform because of their views on my policy ideas, and they're not running from all of the negativity that I get from the press.
I see. So they haven't been spooked on you as a person, you don't think?
No, I mean, wow. I don't think I'm going to be their transition pick because then they have all these kinds of stories. Yeah. But no, the relationship is great.
The head of the Trump transition team has not yet been appointed, but Vought says that no matter who is named, he'll be able to hand over his Project 2025 battle plans directly.
If it's someone like a Stephen Miller or Bob Lighthizer, then all the stuff gets plugged right in. If it's not, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But all of it will be designed for a theory of the case that if a battle plan is out there that will do what he wants, there are the people like me that have his trust that will be able to get it to him in whatever position we're at, or I could be at Center for New America, but the relationships will be there. The trust level will be there.
Mm-hmm. And are you going to rebrand that second phase at all?
For what I do, the brand's not important.
And you're not worried that if it has Project 2025 on, he's going to go like,
No.
And you're not going to publish those?
No.
They go straight to...
Yeah, they're very, very close hold.
Okay.
Brilliant. It's been a...
Come up with a strategy that works so long as you are giving people like me in the government the ability to block funding for Planned Parenthood, block funding for fetal tissue research. What I've told people is he had the most pro-life record ever. I've never seen him to stand in the way of a pro-life initiative that actually was real, politically and with momentum.
So there you go. So that was Russ Vought captured on a hidden camera, basically telling you exactly what it is that they are doing. So confessing, oh yeah, the president knows about Project 2025. We just don't want him to talk about it. We want him to distance himself from it publicly and deny it. But oh yeah, he's fully on board. That's the fucking smoking gun right there. Right? So then you lie to the American people, and then during the election ramp up, we talked about all the time, Project 2025, they're like, oh no, Trump don't got nothing to do with Project 3725. He ain't, no, he's America first. Well, what about all the connections to people who are fully on board with Project 2025? Yeah, they're just rhinos. They don't know shit. So that's the whole fucking thing. That's the whole ball game. That's it. That's the entire ball game. He just laid it out for you. Captured on a hidden camera. And that's what they're doing. Don't forget, we have a Project 2025 tracker. It's in the Discord. And you can see how they're going through right now on the personnel side. Firing, furloughing, laying off, gutting the federal government from civil servants. People who do the work. We've discussed this before, right? Everybody likes sausage, but nobody likes to see how the sausage is made. Career civil servants who work in government, right? They're the ones that make the sausage. They're the ones that keep the fucking government running. That is the job of the House of Representatives, to keep the government open, to keep the government running. And because Russ Vought said, oh, we can't have anybody that supports women's rights to their body. God, no. We can't support anybody who wants to go and invest in medical research to cure the next disease or to confront the next pandemic. God, no. We just need Christian nationalists in charge. And I'm your boy. I'm the guy to get it done for you. We'll never admit they love sausage. They just eat it in the closet. Good call, Drew. But anyway, so I think it's really important for people to understand that, right? So Russ Vought admitting it out loud. Oh yeah, we don't want the president talking about it in public because he's got to be able to distance himself from it because it's so fucking bad. Because it's so bad, we can't let him talk about it in public. But he knows we're ready to implement this thing, and sure enough, here we are. So again, MAGA Republicans, how do you respond to that? They're literally telling you everything that we've been telling you all along, that this was always the plan. And now they're implementing it, and then what's your excuse? You don't have one. Okay, I want to talk about the situation with Howard Nutlick. Howard Nutlick has made numerous mistakes. Howard Nutlick, as soon as the tariffs started to really, he's the Commerce Secretary, by the way. It's Lutnick, but I call him Nutlick. I think it's better, more appropriate. Not judging, but just saying. He made a few missteps early on, especially when the tariffs came out, because he went on to CNBC and to Bloomberg Television and said, it's a tax on the American consumer, but it doesn't matter because it's just going to get better eventually. And the Trump administration is like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? We know it's a tax. We know it's going to impact American consumers, but we can't tell them that. We can't tell our dumb base that because we've been telling them it's the opposite. So here we are again. Now it's connected to Jeffrey Epstein. So over the weekend, or I think it was at the tail end of last week, he had a bit of a misstep. I'll just play the story for you. This was reported on by ABC.
This morning, breaking with the FBI and Department of Justice, one of President Trump's cabinet secretaries claiming that high-profile associates of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein not only knew of his behavior, but some even participated.
Did they see it and ignore it, or no? They participated. Right.
Uh-oh.
That's what his MO was. Get a massage, and what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
Oh, That's not good.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Epstein's former neighbor, recounting his alleged experience with the deceased billionaire to the New York Post, saying he believes Epstein may have traded alleged blackmail videos for a lesser prison sentence during his first criminal case in 2008.
I assume way back when they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence.
Lutnick describing Epstein as gross.
I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage.
His allegations in stark contrast to what FBI Director Kash Patel testified to last month.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information.
Remember, we talked about the word credible before, and they use that a lot during this time, trying to discredit survivors and discredit the victims of this abuse. So in his mind, there's nothing credible. Well, Howard Nutlick would disagree with you.
None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday. That he trafficked to other individuals.
This as Republican leaders on Capitol Hill grapple with a push to have all the Department of Justice's Epstein files released. President Trump, who was friends with Epstein in the 1990s but later had a falling out, has called the effort to release the files a hoax created by his political rivals.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats and some stupid Republicans.
Now, that push to force a vote in the House of Representatives to release the FBI's Epstein files, it needs just one more signature. And there is a new Democratic member who just won a special election in Arizona, and she says she will sign that petition, but she hasn't been sworn in yet because House Republican leaders canceled the chamber's session this week ahead of that looming government shutdown.
So that's interesting. And to be honest, the administration is not happy about it, about Howard Nutlick going on the record, contradicting the entire story, that it was a Democratic hoax. We know that that's a lie, that Kash Patel's word. Think about this. Kash Patel goes on record under oath in Congress, although it doesn't hold any weight because who's going to investigate him? Is he going to investigate himself? Senator Kennedy, Falcon Lenko. So please tell me, sir, who did Jeffrey Epstein traffic people to? Kash Patel's answer was himself. What? That's what he wanted people to believe. And then I heard people in right-wing spaces talking about that. Talking about it. He only trafficked to himself. Okay, if that's the case, then don't you want the survivors' stories to be told publicly? Or could you realize for a second how fucking stupid that sounds? And Nutlick's like, oh, no, I'm assuming there's film. He gets massages every single day, the right kind. I'm sure he used those films as leverage against people that he blackmailed, thus trafficked young girls to. Right? I know logic doesn't exist in MAGA space, but what does the logic then tell you? We've all known. That's why we want the files released, right? So there's some quotes from unnamed people in the Trump White House. Fucking dumbass. Trump official wanted Howard Nutlick wanted him sidelined after the Epstein comments. Top officials in Trump's administration are furious. This comes from Zeteo. By the way, it's Zeteo. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like the way they report in the news. It's Zeteo. You can check it out for yourself. Top officials in Donald Trump's administration are furious with Commerce Secretary Howard Nutlick after he went on a tabloid podcast this week and undermined the government's entire story about Schmepstein. That fucking dumbass, said one of the senior Trump administration officials, told Zeteo on Wednesday after seeing a clip of Nutlick riffing on Epstein. He just talks and talks and talks and doesn't care what unhelpful bullshit comes out. That quote, when I read it again, I'm like, unhelpful bullshit. So he's telling the truth about what he knows about his neighbor, and it's not helpful to you because it contradicts your lie, is what you mean. Got it. Nutlick directly contradicted the narrative coming from the Trump's FBI and the White House and the Justice Department at a time when the president is hoping to talk about this elite P3D issue as little as possible. Wow. so fucking screwed. They can't run from this story. And we're not going to let them, friends, are we? Which is part of our conversation today again. Believe women. Full stop. Okay? So that story, I think, is interesting, and it's not going to go away. And then just to wrap this up a little bit more, there's a few other things I want to play to you as we go through the morning. But as you know, Diddy was sentenced over the weekend or on Friday. And this was, I remember hearing this, reading this, or hearing this interview that the twice impeached, 4-time indicted sexually abusing fraudulent convicted felon, name on a list fucking predator, said on Newsmax in regards to Diddy. Here you go.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Right.
Would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably.
Wasn't as good a victory? What?
Probably, you know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you.
Yeah, and it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know. It's more difficult. It makes it more. I'm being honest. It makes it more difficult to do.
It does.
But more likely a no for Combs.
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about George Santos?
Boy.
Sean Diddy Combs.
He was nice to me at one point. Then he stopped being nice to me. Just like his statement he made about the judges. You know, that they weren't very nice to me. We live now in a world where people support, how do I want to say this? Because it's obvious. We talk about it all the time. The fact that he was considering pardoning Diddy? I mean, is that where we are? But it wouldn't track with the narrative now, would it? Of course not. Okay. Let me see if I can. All right. I want to get into our topic today. This whole thing came about because, everybody, please, if you wouldn't mind, just continue to like and share the live. Tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. Don't forget, there's a gifting goal. You want to contribute to the crowdfunding. You can do that. The various appetizers are at Factsstillmatter. I appreciate you. So this whole thing came about because I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've mentioned this before. There's a channel in our Discord that's called Building a Better Man, and it was I thought when I went into it, just asking this simple question. We asked it of our mod team, we asked it of everybody who's in our Discord, and I kind of was expecting. I guess I was expecting something different. I shouldn't be surprised that what we got from my perspective was just the bare minimum. You know, I like my partner to clear the breakfast table. I like him to take out the trash without me having to ask. You know, it's nice when he holds the door open for me. And I'm thinking, that is how far we have fallen? That those things are considered positive attributes? And it's no shade on anybody who feels like those things are important qualities. I get it. But think about it. Is that enough? That should not be enough. So that's kind of where this whole thing started. And I was sort of thinking, what would that look like? And then I'm like, okay, it's not women's responsibility to change male bad behavior. It's not on y'all. It's not on y'all. It's on us. It's on other men calling out other men. It's not about turning a blind eye when you hear locker room talk or when you see bad behavior or when you see just disgusting filth out of public view. It's just not enough. It's not on women to fix it. It's not. It's on men to fix it. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation. And I want to use I want to use the fact that there's so many examples of how our young men are being red-pilled, and we're going to get into that in just a second. Red-pilled in the manosphere, and where are dads? Where are dads? I want dads to understand that being a dad is not just about showing your kid how to hunt or how to fish or how to fix a car. And again, it's not that moms aren't doing that. Please understand, for the purpose of the conversation, my point here. That's not enough. Okay? That's not enough. You've got to be teaching men, the young boys in your life, your kids, the fundamental difference between right and wrong. And if you are participating in toxic masculinity, if you are contributing to the patriarchy, if you are showing them that, we've had numerous conversations with people in our community here, dads of boys and girls, and how they treat their young men, their boys, is different how they treat their daughters, right? So you're conditioning them to think that their daughters, your daughters, are less important, have less value than your sons do, just by the way in which you talk to them. King of the house, one vote for a house. It's a man's world. Women should stay home. Women get judged if they get abused instead of blaming the actual problem, which are the men in this case. So that's why this conversation, I think, is extremely important, because dads, your sons fucking need you. Are you going to show the fuck up? Are you going to try to break the cycle for one time? Are you going to try to show the world that we can do things different? It's got to come from you. Okay? So let's get into the whole to red pilling, because I guess I just assume that people know what red pilling is, and I think most of you do, because you're the smartest chat on TikTok. But in case somebody is joining us for the first time, I just kind of want to go through what it is, what its origin is, and how it's being used to perpetuate the patriarchy, and in particular, toxic masculinity. Again, what I'm sharing today is, there's some evidence to back it up, but a lot of it is my opinion on things and what I see. So I'm not going to make definitive claims unless I can back it up with the data. A lot of this is my opinion as to what I've seen, but there's a lot of evidence connecting to the things we're talking about and the problems that we have in our society. Okay? Red pilling comes from the Matrix. Red pill reveals the truth about reality, breaking him free from illusion, and the blue pill allows him to stay in comfortable ignorance. In the movie, taking the red pill symbolizes awakening to the truth, even if that truth is harsh or unsettling. In modern internet terms, red pilling evolved into slang for a sudden ideological awakening, usually one that goes against mainstream beliefs or institutions. It means someone has come to see through what they perceive as propaganda, bias, or control. And the hypocrisy of that is that red pilling is about propaganda. So the lie that's been told to our young men in particular, because young men overwhelmingly so are the ones that are being red pilled by design, they're being targeted. In places like 4chan, subreddit channels, the deep dark web, the gaming community. Again, not that young girls don't play games. It's not the argument I'm making here. It's just it's a world that is dominated by young men. So the hypocrisy of being propagandized is that red pilling is propaganda. And they're trying to tell people that the mainstream, science, evidence, facts, they say that the claim is that that's the propaganda. So that's where we have this fight on our hands. Online red pilling evolved into slang for a sudden ideological awakening, usually one that goes against mainstream beliefs or institutions. It means someone has come to see through what they perceive as propaganda, bias, or control. Red pilling in the political or ideological context. On forums like Reddits and subreddits and 4chan, red pilling came to mean adopting anti-establishment or conservative views, often in reaction to what users see as liberal, feminist, or globalist dominance in media and or academia. Someone who gets red-pilled might say that they've realized the truth finally about politics, gender relations, or media manipulation. Outside politics, it can simply mean realizing hidden realities. For example, learning the truth about corporate control, government surveillance, or the financial system. In tech and or philosophy discussions, it can mean waking up to systemic issues or hidden power structures. Now, I think learning the truth about corporate control, it's like, what is the truth though? So my opinion on the red pill, the reason I think it's so toxic is because it's attempting to say that the truth that the red pill has now brought you, like every propaganda, like every conspiracy theory, there's always a smattering of truth in there. There's always a little bit. There's always a little sprinkle of something that might be considered the truth. Where it turns into a full-blown controversy is that it expands beyond that little grain of truth into this entire belief set that is rooted in propaganda and rhetoric and disinformation. That's the hard part. And our young men are being red-pilled. They are being taught. They are being taught these things from a group of people who do not have good intentions, in my opinion. Some extremist and or misogynistic communities, like certain manosphere or conspiracy groups, have appropriated red pilling to justify radical beliefs, including racism, anti-feminism, anti-democratic ideology, transphobia, anti-immigrant culture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because of that, the term can have a negative and or extremist connotation depending on who's using it. There are variations. Blue pill would mean still asleep. So if you are a blue pill, you are part of the problem. Stick to believing your mainstream narratives. Stick to that. Black pilled would be pessimistic. Believe the truth is so bad that change is impossible. That's like the nihilistic approach to it. And then white pilled would be optimistic. Believes awakening can lead to positive change. Okay, so red pilled awaken to a supposed hidden truth. Blue pilled still believing in comforting illusions. Black pilled nihilistic, believes things can improve, and then white pilled, hopeful belief in positive awakenings. So where I think this really matters is because if the traditional gender role of dads, our society tells dads, first of all, the only emotions you can show publicly are what? Anger and lust. If dads think it's just enough to show their kids how to hunt and fish and do all those traditional masculine roles, then their children are their boys in particular are subjected to this red pilling without contradiction. And this is not, I'm not putting any burden here on moms. This is about dads. But collectively, this is about parenting. What are you aware of what your kid's doing? Are you aware of what your children are being exposed to? Are you aware of the communities that they live? Are you aware of these subreddits and 4chan chat groups that they're part of? Are you aware of any of that? So I think it's crucial that we start to pay attention to these things. And boy dads, you in particular, fellas, you got to call yourself out. Your boys are being targeted by design. We're going to get into the political and ideological gender split as more and more young men are becoming more conservative through red pilling and influence, and how more and more women are becoming more liberal. So if we talk about the male loneliness epidemic, which I think is just bullshit, it's created to give excuses for men. It's part of the reason. Because women are like, you know what? I kind of feel like I should have rights in my own body. So it's not that much of a stretch. Okay, so let's talk about the political influence of red pilling. By the mid-2010s, red pilling took on sharply political overtones. It became shorthand for rejecting mainstream liberal or progressive narratives. So when we think of the red pill in terms of the red pill, it would be anti-liberalism, anti-feminist, anti-immigration, anti-human rights, by and large. Alt-right and nationalist movements. Figures like Richard Spencer and online influencers used red pill to describe the moment someone accepted their views on race, immigration, or identity politics. Example, he got red pilled on immigration, meaning he adopted anti-immigration views. Charlie Kirk's game was red pilling. Andrew Tate's game is red pilling. Richard Spencer's game is red pilling. Nick Fuentes' game is red pilling. Part of the game. Okay, that's part of their strategy to try to influence the minds of those that are easily manipulated. Young people, young boys in particular. First of all, we also know that the education paradigm has shifted, where women are pursuing higher education now at a higher rate than men. And black women in particular are the most educated demographic we have based per capita. So it's a critical mass here, right? It's a tidal wave is crashing. We don't invest in public education. We should be overinvesting in it. We've allowed our education system to crumble. And in my opinion, it's by design so that online spaces, so that people aren't taught to critically think, people who participate in these communities, whether again, 4chan, subreddits, all those kinds of things, are much more easily influenced. Anybody, think of it this way. You don't want to be excluded. Everybody wants to have, like we talk in the show, I would rather be last than right than first than wrong. It's like the breaking news. Everybody wants to be in on something. Everybody wants to have the first story to tell. Everybody wants to be the one to break the news. That's what red pilling has a tendency to do. I know something that somebody else doesn't know. I'm inside. I'm behind the velvet rope, so to speak. I'm the one that's got more information. All those people for years that have been telling me that science is wrong. I'll give you an example. Doug had a live yesterday, and I was coming home, and I pulled over because I had to talk. This person was talking about how the conversation of cancer came up, right? And this person was obviously anti-science. Okay, they didn't believe. They believed in alternative methods. So I had to chime in. I said, "Listen, man, my daughter's a 2-time cancer survivor. Do you think I wanted my daughter to be subjected to cancer, to chemotherapy and radiation? Of course not. But when you're faced with the prospect of a life-threatening illness where your daughter's given a 50% chance of survival, you're going to go with the science. You're going to go with tried and true methods that help." His response was, "Well, you know, there could be better alternatives out there." So I'm like, "Are you willing to roll the dice with your kids' lives?" And he couldn't really answer. So this is another example, right? This is another example of that, where red pilling says everything that you've been told about the mainstream for years is wrong. Everything you've been told about science is wrong. Everything you've been told about feminism is wrong. Everything you've been told about political violence is wrong. Everything you've been told about immigration is wrong. That's what red pilling is at its core. It's the ultimate anti-establishment, okay? Funny how the people that have been red pilled are now also supportive of big government as troops roll out of American cities, but a different conversation. Stay on topic. See if I have any guests or questions up. I'll take a quick pivot and bring up a guest. Good morning, Freedom. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So this is huge, what you're covering today in terms of being a boy dad. Personally, I have a young man who's stepping into being an adult, hitting all the dirty looks and the teenage phase, right? But
yes, they know everything.
Yeah, of course. They know everything. Yes,
they do.
And so
yep.
We're in this part now where he's unfortunately blessed with having to be the only child. So we're running like a zone defense on him, as opposed to the parents that have like man-to-man, or they're severely under staffed on the field there.
Yeah. So, I got you.
So he has my wife, and I think I've discussed, she's an educator. We are the yin and the yang. She is very soft approach. There are times where I'm the heavy-handed. And in fact, let me back up. I've never touched my child. I came from abuse, and I swore that I would never perpetuate that abuse in any capacity. I think that starts there, and I'm not going to judge anyone on that. Honestly, I think it worked for us. I think what I brought to the table as a father, because of that, is words do matter, and I leaned into that. I leaned into saying things that meant something, in terms of promises made, just the value of that, a value of someone's word. And I think that's what carried me through as a father for him. And so we're now at a teenager. He's almost as tall as me, which isn't hard to do. I'm probably giving too much detail that someone could pick me out in a crowd now. I'm a short guy. Yeah. So he's as tall as me, and we see eye to eye physically on things now. And as we're approaching where he is making his own decisions, and I had a point here. Okay. So you've hit the blue pill, red pill. Young men are they're made in such a way that they need to join something, whether that is, to fulfill the need to be a part of a crowd, or
Well, humans are in general.
Correct.
We're going to talk about that a little bit. I know what you're trying to say. Yes, I mean, no doubt about it. That the quest for community. That's where the whole male loneliness epidemic comes in. Yeah. And that's been capitalized by people who are attempting to red pill people to say, listen, you're alone. The reason you're alone is because of women, feminism. The reason you're alone is because of big government. The reason you're alone is because of science. So they're all related. I mean, I get what you're trying to say. I understand that. The whole goal. Yeah, go ahead. Just trying to wrap that up.
Yeah, I think from my perspective as dad, where I find the challenges in that is just like when you were hitting on the male loneliness piece, which I think that's my concern is I want him to change. Things have changed. So I met my wife organically. You know, she was a hostess at a restaurant, and, you know, it took notes and flirting and human engagement to earn her trust and earn her attention. Whereas now it's as simple as a swipe or a text or two, or just digital connection that doesn't, I mean, it can be very real for some people, but it doesn't feel like it plays out. So my concern for him was, hey, how are you meeting people organically besides in school? This is a weird set it up. It didn't come out that way. It's just like, how are you making relationships stick and last?
Yeah.
You know?
I got you, bro. I got you. I understand. Yeah, we got a lot to cover on. So if you could just try to land the plane right here for me, if you could.
There is just that. Is my question to you is that how does someone like me who's analog deal with the digital aspect and not tear that down because it's real for him? And that's my concern is as this old guy is like, hey, man, you got to do it the way I did it. You got to go meet people, touch grass, like you said. But how do we mix the two? Because it's going to be that how they meet people and how they build relationships. And so
it's by paying attention. It's by paying attention. Like, I don't think I'm going to drop you down, Freedom. Thanks for jumping in today, buddy. I appreciate you very much. We'll get into this. I want to try to stay on topic here because I got my brain organized for thought. But from again, my opinion, I don't think you can be your kid's friend. I think you can have a relationship with them where you have things in common, where you share things that you enjoy together. But you have to find there's going to be that line. And to be honest, our kids really they might disagree with this, but they don't want us to be their friend. They want us to be their parent. Because a friend, you're going to get away with more shit than with your parents. So as they grow, as they get older, maybe we can have that conversation to say, no, I want to be my kid's friend. I just would challenge that, right? I would challenge that point. I understand what Freedom was trying to say. To me, it's just about being involved. I want to first take a real pivot. For those of you who do not know, when we talk about legend, it's our friend Gregory, who does all the backgrounds for us every single day. Gregory is an incredible dad. He's a loving husband and father. He's got a special needs son. He's bust his fucking ass. He's a hero. He's one of the people that's been one of my mods the longest. He just found out he's going to have a grandson. He literally just found out. We just got the notification in our Discord that he did. So hearts in the chat for Gregory, who is going to be a peepaw. So we're now going to change your name, Legend, from Legend to Peepaw. So own it, my friend. So proud of you, buddy. Love you, man. That's fucking awesome. That's great. That's just amazing. Okay, let's get back to our topic here. So we're talking about the political reinterpretation and how if you are opposed to, if you're pro-feminist, if you're pro-immigration, if you're pro-science, all these things. Because if you think about, we've talked about the conspiracy pyramid before. The further up the conspiracy pyramid you go, the more likely you are to believe everything, right? So at the tip top would be things like, adrenochrome and Pizzagate, all those kinds of things. So if you are in that category, you're likely to believe all those things. Similarly with red pilling, you don't pick and choose. If you become red pilled, then you are anti-feminist, then you are anti-immigration, then you are anti-women's rights, you're anti-gay rights, you're anti-science. You don't pick and choose, okay? Anti-feminism and or manosphere movements used to describe awakening to supposed truths about gender relations or feminism, often blending with incel, intentionally celibate, and men's rights communities. Intentionally celibate, that incel mindset, to me, fits in with the whole male loneliness epidemic. It's bullshit. You're not intentionally celibate. Women don't want to go anywhere fucking near you. That's the bigger issue. Cover your drink. Conspiracy-oriented politics, Q, and similar movements repurposed red pilling to describe awakening to alleged global conspiracies. Example, seeing through the lies of the deep state. Yeah, it's involuntarily celibate. Yeah. Well, yes, I understand that. That you're correct. That is the appropriate definition for incel, but it's almost intentionally celibate, meaning that they don't want to do anything. I won't go there. Involuntary celibate. Populist and anti-establishment spaces. Some Trump-era populists use red pilling to mean realizing that traditional media, academia, or government are corrupt or controlled by the elites. Think about that. Gregor, you're welcome, buddy. Think about that, right? So this should not be political. It shouldn't be, but it is. You know, our young men being indoctrinated and red-pilled shouldn't be political because of what's happening, because of what it's leading to, as we see rise in intimate partner violence, as we see the overwhelming amount of crimes in our country, whether they be petty crimes or violent crimes, 89% are committed by men. This can't be a political conversation. Sadly, the conservative movement, the evangelical movement, the Christian nationalist movement in our country has used it as such to recruit. Right? To recruit. It was targeted for CK to go to college campuses. It was targeted. Just look at the audience. Have you ever watched any of his videos? Watch any of the college appearances? Look at the crowd. Just look at the audience. Overwhelmingly male and overwhelmingly white. It's by design. That's the feeder system for the next movement of Christian nationalism. That's the red pill. Exactly. It's called indoctrination. And he was really good at it. He was really, really good at it. And there's never been a counter. There's never been a counter. So I want to be that counter. And I want other people like me to be that counter. To say, no, your hatred towards people is contrived. Someone told you to hate immigrants. Someone told you to hate women. Someone told you to hate the poor, the disenfranchised. Someone told you to hate the disabled. Someone told you to hate academia. Somebody told you to hate science. It comes from nowhere other than fear, laying into the purest of human emotion, right? We're gonna find the things that scares the fuck out of people, and then we're gonna remind them over and over again. We're gonna tell people that Portland is war ravaged. We're going to tell you that there's an invasion of grapists and murderers coming across the southern border. We're going to tell you that women are just using abortion as birth control. That it's women's fault for all of your problems. We're going to tell you that the poor people who are using Medicaid, Medicare, and CHIPS and SNAP, they're a drain on the economic system. Your future is in trouble because of them. Your status as a white man in America is under threat because of brown-skinned people, black people, queer people, the poor, women, and it's working. That's the worst part about it. It's working. And how, dads, how are we going to stop it from happening? You've got to, first of all, there's got to be some realizations, right? Some realizations. You got to stop walking around thinking, not my boy. It's not going to happen to my son. Nope, I'm teaching him the right way. Are you? Are you? Because if that were the case, then we would not see the rise in conservative right-wing violence. We would not see the rise in political affiliation as young men are becoming more and more conservative and young women are becoming more and more liberal. It's that divide. So if you are paying attention, so the question then you have to ask yourself, is it that you're not paying attention or that you don't care? Because if you want to break the cycle, right? Just like breaking a habit. I forget what the formula is. If you brush your teeth with your right hand and you want to start doing it with your left hand, you have to do it like 55 days in a row or something ridiculous like that. If you want to break the cycle of abuse against women, then stop perpetuating it. If you want to break the cycle of locker room talk, then call it out. Is it 21 days? Thank you, Therese. Is it 21 days? Okay, there you go. If you want to break the cycle of locker room talk, then speak out against it. If you want to break the cycle of this bullshit rhetoric, this anti-feminism fucking crap, it's just stupid, then call it out. You have to call it out. You cannot just sit back. And this is where I say, you can't be your kids' friends. Look, I've made plenty of mistakes as a parent. I'm the first person to admit it. All we can do is our best. but I know what really matters to me when it came to raising my kids. I just want them to be decent people in the world and care about others and understand that they were born into shit as white men, right? And that they have a responsibility to look out for each other, including their sister, including their friends. And I always think about it this way, right? For the people who are, for the men in particular, this includes liberal men too, because there's a lot of misogyny and patriarchy. This is not unique to conservatives. This is across the fucking board. This is the patriarchy here. This is the patriarchy and misogyny. And for any far left radical progressive that thinks that you're not a misogynist and you're not part of the patriarchy, I got fucking news for you. You absolutely are. That's why it's all men until it's no men. It's one thing to recognize it, and then the next step is what you're going to do about it. So I always think about this, right? If you're a girl dad, would you want your daughter subjected to the things that you did to girls when you were younger? Whether it be catcalls or comments, whatever that might be. And that's part one. And would you want your sons doing what you did? If the answer is not no to both of those questions, then what the fuck are you doing? That's what this is about today. Calling all boy dads. Your sons need you to show them that that is just not fucking acceptable under any circumstance. Under any circumstance. And then that gets into human connection and how COVID has isolated people. That's a different conversation. But if you're not calling it out in an attempt to break that behavior, recognize it. I've had these conversations with my kids. Absolutely, I participated in locker room talk. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. It took me years to realize it. Like, shit, that was really fucking harmful. Really harmful. I always consider myself fortunate. I've talked about this before. The most influential voice in my head when I was younger was my mom. You know, multiple degrees, highly educated, Italian American. I would just get the look. Like if I did something wrong in my house, it was like, it wasn't don't tell dad. In my house, it was don't tell mom. Because all she would have to do would be look at me and the blood would drain from my body. And I had a complicated relationship with my father. My dad was an alcoholic and he was a domestic abuser. And I had to separate my parents. I had to pull my father off of my mother. And I share that story because I'm transparent about my life. So you grow up with that stigma that the child of abuser is going to be an abuser. And I always held that script in my head. I'm like, no, absolutely not. At the same time, my dad was my coach. My dad was always the first person in the parking lot after a long road trip. Went to everything that I ever did, was very, very active. But I became estranged from him because I realized the damage that he did to my family, myself, and everybody. And I had to protect him at times. And I'm like, no fucking way. It's not going to happen to me. No way. It's a conscious choice I made. And again, who knows? If my mom wasn't the strong voice that she was in my head, I don't know what would have happened. I'm grateful that she was, because what could have happened? Everybody's circumstances are different. This is why I think it's so important that dads have to fucking show up. They have to show up. It's really time. And I know that this is political, and I know that there are dads out there that feel like it's just enough to show their kids how to shoot, to show their kids how to fish. And those are great things too. But you know what? My mother caught just as many curveballs from me when I was a kid as my dad did. And again, this is about, I think you guys know what I'm trying to say here. This is not the fact that moms don't play a critical role in their sons' lives, because they absolutely do. I'm case in point. This is about dads. This is about, because the system built by men who look like me, to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me, is the fucking problem. That is the problem. And women are not responsible to fix it. We've built the fucking shit. It's on us to break the fucking shit. Period. Good morning, Forrest. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. I study this, so I have a great deal of interest. I think one of the, and I've been a dad for a very long time, so I became a dad when I was 18 years old in, what is today? 10 days from now, in 1989, I became a father for the very first time.
Congrats.
So, been dad for a long time, and I've got boys. I always taught them that you never put your hands on a kid. But anyway, you never put your hands on anybody, much less, and certainly, anyway. The way that a lot of this seems to work is for one thing, like giant churches have like play centers where they'll have 50 Xboxes. I've used to install these at churches. And it's, call them game rooms and what have you, and the kids love it and they come and play, but they also script them on the kind of chat they'd like for you to have.
Sure.
So some of this is very deliberate right-wing Christian nationalism that is, a organized effort to promote their ideas via, chats, and it is targeted on boys mainly. I don't know if more boys play video games than girls, but I don't, or people who identify outside of gender typical, at least right-wing accepted gender definitions. But so you'll see three things. This is some of the three key elements you'll notice. They tend to co-opt aesthetics, language, and what should be unifying identity elements, and they co-opt them for the purposes of othering a group. And that is kind of the operating mechanism behind the scenes. So you insert any whatever patriot into that. So patriot, the term becomes co-opted. And just as a parting thing, and I'll go after this, but one of the
nationalist, alpha, terms like that. I agree.
Yep. Right. Individual, I'll take it further. Individual, hustler, player, getting that bank. You have to also understand that they sell this ticket it's like a lottery ticket to the ruling class. Like if you're this, then, this sets you up so that you have your best chance to win that lottery ticket to the ruling class. You're going to have your very own jet ski and a Porsche and a good looking girl that submits to you.
Correct.
And so, it's a sales pitch. And, what's going to get you that? Well, the kind of girls that are going to want to do whatever you want them to do are the Christian girls. So that's your first step is you got to get on board with us on this, and then we'll, let you in on the rest of the deal. So and they do have a business network that backs up, obviously. So
they do.
But I would say that one of the most effective things, at least according to their own experts, which would be a certain minister of propaganda and who I read a 176-page thesis paper when I was getting my master's degree, and it was from an aspect of fascist art. So I don't want to present myself as a historian. This is an art history paper, but the thing that I found it's co-opting this to use the same methodologies on them. So, I did some videos that got taken off this platform. Very, very, they were AI and they were silly, but they were co-opting the MAGA hats.
Yeah. Yep. Everything. I mean, first of all, I appreciate you jumping in. I really appreciate your perspective. I'd like to talk a little bit more. So I don't know if I think you're a follower. I think I've seen your name before. Maybe we can connect either to Discord because I have some questions because I'm not an expert in this field. I'm just talking about it as from my perspective as to what I see. But I want to thank you for jumping in today for being here for us. Thanks a lot for your perspective on it. I appreciate you, and congratulations on being a dad. Lost him. Not sure where he went. Yeah, the co-opting. We're going to talk about that. The co-opting. To me, there's so think about again. You co-opt terms like America First. Because it feels good. Why wouldn't anybody want to put America first? You co-opt the term "Make America Great Again." Why would people not want to make America great? You co-opt the term alpha. Why would men not want to be alphas? Things like that. And that's the dangerous, because as he pointed out correctly, first of all, humans looked for community. We're social creatures, right? We're social creatures. So we look for community, right? So you want to always be part of something. So the red pill is intended to put young men part of something else than what we want them to be part of. They become the Andrew Tate effect. They become part of this movement. And I'm glad he pointed it out about how Christian women should be the target for alpha men, because they're submissive, because they'll do what they're told, because they'll fall in line, because they'll pander to me, whatever I want. I can abuse them and they won't care. I can belittle them and demean them and they won't care. And then in a household that runs like that, especially if there's a daughter and a son, what message are you sending to your children? You're sending to your son that it's okay to do what I did, and you're sending to daughter it's okay for you to be susceptible to what I'm doing and ultimately what your brother's going to do. That's the cycle that I want us to break. And to be honest, a lot of it's rooted in organized religion. Let's be real. Think about where the patriarchy started. Think about where it exists now. Think about how pervasive it is in an attempt to try to change the entire narrative of our country. From a political perspective, right? Boomers, who've always been a solid conservative voting bloc, are dying off. So Gen Xers are split, but 55 Gen Xers tend to be more liberal. And then millennials are much more liberal. Gen Z, by and large, are much more liberal. So they need to replace that voting bloc. So they have to go after young men because they see the writing on the wall. This has been part of the plan forever. Been part of the plan forever. Forever. And here we are, front and center. And we got it. And the question is, what the fuck are we going to do about it? Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Good morning, my beautiful friend Steve. I just came to give a little perspective on something the last guest said, and I don't think they meant this in any harmful way or whatnot, but I noticed a lot of the things that he mentioned, some of the lines that are often used in particular communities was very AAVE coded. And I just wanted to say that not all of that is directly associated with red pill terminology, although it often is co-opted, but I just want to make the point and just be a little bit careful with that. But 6,000% correct. Often those lines are made by men who, in part, kind of like what you say, are involuntarily celibate. And because of their lack of access to women, their incapability is talking to women, they'll go off of those lines of just work, grind, because if you take a break to talk to a woman, you fail. So, again, last guess, I don't think you meant that in any negative way or whatnot, but just have to be a little bit careful with our wording. AAVE, I got you, bro. African American vernacular language. That's all that was.
I got you.
With that being said, I'm gonna let you get back to your show. I'm gonna push Steve because somebody's got to. I would absolutely love to see you guys tap that screen, get those likes up, share out the live. Let's send this out to as many people as possible. It's very important that every single man we possibly can sees this, so we can be better people, better men to our sons, and better role models to any boy out there in the world right now, because Lord knows we need it. I know you see that goal up there. If you check out the links in the bio, some of the best ways to support Steve is hitting that up. On that note, love you, brother. Go and drop me down.
Love you too, buddy. Talk to you soon. Be well. It's a good man right there. And he's right? Language matters. So they need to refill the voter pipeline. They being the conservative movement, the evangelical, the Christian right, needs to refill their voter pipeline, because part of the reason I wish everything wasn't connected to politics, but it is, because one of the reasons that conservative Christians and MAGA Republicans in general need to cheat in elections, because they need to maintain power so they can continue to do this. Because if we let the country just vote, if we just let the country vote without gerrymandered districts, without voter suppression, without manipulation of the electorate, if we just let the country vote, first of all, if we just let the country vote, progressive women would be in charge of our government. Full stop. Full stop. because the bulk of the ideology that most progressives want are rooted in women. Preservation of rights, protection for marginalized communities, guaranteed access to health care, overfunding public education, change in tax codes, rooting out corruption, and men don't want women in charge. And why do you think that is? Don't forget, people who've been red-pilled are being told that women shouldn't have the right to vote. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know. And then I was curious, I'll get back to this tread here, but in Congress, there are 100 senators. 26 are women. 16 of the 26 are Democrats. In the House, 435 seats, 125 women, 94 Democrats, 31 Republicans. That should tell you a lot. It should tell you a lot that liberal-leaning voters and independents too are I should say are encouraging more women to run for office. We know the gender pay gap exists. We know all that. So if you want to make changes, I want to live in a fucking matriarchy. Our commune is a matriarchy. I didn't even get a vote, and I'm totally fine by that. I do get a layer. I get my own little space, but I get layer time. It's still determined. If I screw up, I get penalized. I don't get as much layer time. But I want a matriarchy because I want to push back on what has become this overwhelming desire to diminish marginalized communities. And that would not come from women. It wouldn't. And I would love to see what our society would look like. I'd love to be alive. I'd love to live long enough to see what a society with all the resources that we have, with all the ingenuity we have, with all the access to wealth that we have, with all the access to all the things needed, if it were run by women. I would love to see it. I don't know if I'm going to live long enough, quite frankly. Okay, let's get back to the whole, thank you, Hector, by the way. If you do want to support the channel, best way to do it is through the various appetizer apps. Okay, where was I? So we're going through the red pilling components here. Let me find another section. Where was I? We talked about Q. Mainstream and counterculture adoption of red pilling. Tech and crypto circles. Huge. Getting red pilled on Bitcoin means realizing fiat currency is flawed and decentralized finance is the future. So when we talk about these things in terms of how it's all or nothing, people who are being red pilled believe all this shit. So they do all this shit. It's not, you don't pick and choose. You become red-pilled, you're red-pilled. Media criticism. Some journalists or influencers use it metaphorically. For example, I got red-pilled and how much bias there is in corporate media. Like, what? We all know that there's bias in corporate media. It's the point. Hi, Ash. How you doing, friend?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's on your mind.
I won't stay long, like always. You're just always talking about something that triggers me, or not in a good way. This is just so fascinating to me. I've just recently been deep diving into the manosphere, so it's just interesting that you're talking about this. And I just wanted to get your opinion on where, because you were talking about like Christianity too, and like traditionalists are not so much red pill, but what I'm seeing now, like Charlie Kirk was more of a traditionalist, meaning like red pills think that women oppress men now, and like feminism is what is oppressing men. But I'm seeing it bleed over now, almost like Charlie Kirk got red pilled at the start of the pipeline, because it starts like with that Christianity isn't so much that like women are oppressing men, but it's men's duty to protect women. And then when those fail, it starts to get worse and worse, that like pipeline. And then the red pill turns into like you're being, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm asking your opinion on where and when did that like, that traditionalism, that Christian, it's almost like I'm seeing a lot of those young red pill podcast men like adopt Christianity, but not like in a faith-based way, but like in a pragmatic, like I don't know how to explain it, but like, and now it's blended where you see that traditionalism and that Christianity blending into the red pill. And then you get it. And then when red pill doesn't work, you get into that black pill, which is wild. And I spent time in some
seriously,
Reddit.
the not burn it all down. Yeah, the nihilistic side.
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, maybe I just want to make sure if I'm answering this the right way. I think it starts with going after, using rhetoric for those that are being targeted to be red pilled for someone to blame. For example, the reason I'm speaking to somebody them attempting to red pill. The reason that you can't succeed in America is because of immigrants. The reason you can't succeed in America is because women want to take all the power. The reason you can't concede in America is because corporate media is lying to you. So if you convince somebody of all those things, then you have become red pilled.
So it's not, that makes sense.
And then Charlie Kirk did all those things and then connected it to his faith.
Right.
The patriarchy says that if you became a Christian, you wouldn't need to worry about those things because Christians, you're the dominant name in your household. Your name's on the door. What you say matter. So your response to push back to immigrants, women, and mass media is to be the king of your household, so to speak. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does. And I haven't really thought about the idea of red pilling being like outside of just like gender, which is like the blame put on anybody. So I'm going to jot that down. And then just like a little shameless plug for myself, if you don't mind.
Do it. Please, always.
On Wednesday, I'm debating just pearly things. So speaking of...
Are you really?
Yeah, so speaking of red pill, women, 8 p.m. Central, Wednesday, I'll be streaming it on my TikTok, but it's on her. So I've been like studying all this because I've said for years, like the podcast bros are really like scaring me about like young men. And what I found when I was researching this is like, they're really infiltrating at very, very young ages, right? Like 10 years old, they're seeing memes, right? It's the memes that really started a lot of this. They're seeing like, make me a sandwich and get back in the kitchen, right? So like from a really young age, they're seeing all this. And like my mom and I were talking about simultaneously, and which I don't know, we don't talk so much about it, but they're trying to glamorize for on the women's side, they're trying to glamorize trad wives and or like stay-at-home moms and economically, like most people who are staying home with their children it's not glamorous. It's not like the ballerina farm. People are struggling. Men are working. And that's why the patriarchy is bad for men, right? Like they're sold the lie that if you work 16 hours, then you're amazing. But really they're just using you and it's destroying everything. And like, and I'll go, I know I'm just rambling, but like for women and young girls, like it's a trap, and that's how they're aligning them. And now you've got the podcast bros and then the trad wives like combining, and it's so frustrating. It's not glamorous.
No, it's not at all.
Unless you're rich and the middle class is gone. Like it's just not glamorous. Trust me from a single mom that works, and like it's not glamorous. Don't buy it.
Not at all. I appreciate you. If you want to come back on Wednesday maybe and plug again, please do.
Yeah,
okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.
Love you, friend. See you later. Take care. She's right. It's not glamorous, and I broke that down by single family households, right? And how the overwhelming, I think there's an estimate of roughly 9.5 million that are considered single family households in our single parent households, of which 7.5 million are women. And there's this societal stigma about stay at home dads or work from home dads or dads that don't work, instead choose to be part of the caregiving, and that has become a target as they're considered beta, right? Because you made a choice if what's best for your family to be the one that stays home and takes care of your kids. I think it's fucking awesome. I'd like to see more of it. Ash touched briefly on the funnel. We're going to get into that in just a second. But going back to the whole red pill targeting, they categorize it in a bunch of different ways. Again, I'm not an expert in this. I've just been reading a lot about it. I've been wanting to do this show for a long time, so I feel like I'm pretty well read. I'm just sharing information with you, and then I'm offering my opinion. I'm not suggesting it from a societal perspective. I'm only sharing what's been studied, what's been researched, and what my opinions are. So that's the caveat. At its core, red pilling is designed to appeal to people who feel disillusioned, excluded, or confused by dominant cultural narratives. It frames itself as a truth-seeking antidote to chaos. Now, I think that statement's a bit contradictory because it's attempting to disillusion, it's attempting to exclude, and it's attempting to confuse. Yes, people who've been red-pilled are disillusioned, excluded, and confused, but I think it's by design, in my own opinion. So, alienation being one of the traits. People feel ignored or dismissed by institutions, media, or peers. The hook that they use to get them, they don't want you to know this. Cognitive dissonance senses contradictions between personal experiences and official narratives. The hook, ever wonder why the news never talks about X? Low trust in institutions, skeptical of government, academia, science, mainstream, etc. The example of the hook, the elites control the whole story. Desire for agency. People want to feel smart, informed, and in control. But more importantly, they want to be part of it. They want to be in the know, so to speak. The hook, you're not crazy. You're just waking up. Status anxiety. People feel overlooked economically or socially. We're going to talk about this one more in a minute. Example of the hook, they don't want ordinary people to succeed. So that is an attempt to blame their own misgivings and their own mediocrity on someone else. The reason you can't achieve things is because of immigrants. The reason you can't afford to buy a home is because there's too many immigrants. The reason that you're looked down on in society is because of women or the queer community. That's the othering, right? Curiosity and pattern seeking, likes puzzles, mystery, or hidden knowledge. Again, wants to be in the know. The hook, connect the dots. It's all there. So these are targeted tactics. So this is where my marketing and public relations brain kind of kicks in. These are super fucking effective because they appeal to emotions. Just like we discussed before in this space about how effective Republican strategy has been consolidated to 3-word slogans, right? Excuse me. 3-word slogans. One could be make America great again, or stop the steal, or fuck Joe Biden, or whatever it might be. Those are effective because they are simple, they're easy to consume. They stand to the anti-establishment. Donald Trump will save us from ourselves. It's lock her up, exactly. Donald Trump will save us from ourselves. That is technically red pilling. It's a little bit different. It's kind of in the margins, but it's all the same. So here's the target. Okay, this is what I want to get into this, right? And also we're going to talk about how this is really infiltrating our politics. We'll get into it more in just a moment, but I'm going to take you through the steps here. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. We're 152,000 likes or 1,200 people in here. Thank you for the 313 shares. I appreciate y'all very, very much. Young men, 18 to 35, primary target, often disaffected, digitally native, and seeking meaning or identity in chaotic times. There's been a new study that's come out that number has now shifted younger. So it's now 15 to 35. That's the target. Okay, so calling all boy dads. Your sons need you. People on the conservative right, do you want your children to be red-pilled? I think many people would say that they're okay with it, but really? Because if they're susceptible to this, then what else are they susceptible to? Do you want them to go down the Groyper road? Do you want them to be disillusioned? Do you want them to growing up hating everybody? Especially people of privilege, right? We see a lot of affluent conservative households, to be honest, where there's parents aren't really involved, especially dads. 15 to 35. That's the targeted age. Why? I get no more enjoyment in my life than spending time with my kids. I get no more enjoyment. Even when we're yelling, even when we're shouting at each other, even when we're disagreeing over what movie to choose, right? It's just simple things like that. You know, when my son struggled with alcohol, I could see the warning signs. And he wasn't living here. He was living in Pittsburgh when it got really, really bad. I could see the warning signs. It's because we communicated. And he felt like he could trust me. This is not about me. I'm just trying to talk about what people need to do to try to make sure that you're out ahead of this shit. Because it's getting worse. The richest man in the world, by the way, Elon Musk, just surpassed $500 billion in net worth. He's got a massive fucking platform that he can use to his discretion and say whatever the fuck he wants. Say whatever the fuck he wants. And then that influence perpetuates. People in our society have been conditioned to think that things that they read on X are the fucking truth. Psh. Yeah, thanks to DT and Doge, right? So here we are. Targeted communities for young men ages 15 to 35. Gaming, fitness, self-help, dating forums, crypto circles. Starts with self-improvement. Pivot to society is lying to you. That's where the anti-science stuff comes from. They use humor and memes to make ideology seem rebellious, not dogmatic, and then deploy influencers who look relatable. Gym coaches, streamers, crypto traders, tech bros. Disillusioned middle-aged men. Economic displacement, declining trust in government, and nostalgia for perceived past order. A lot of that comes from racism, to be perfectly honest. I think it's a little bit different for the younger men, although sure, because the entire society is built on fucking systemic racism. But for older men, I want to go back in time. I want to go back to a day when black people didn't have rights in our society. I want to go back to a day before civil rights. I'd love to go back to a day when women didn't have the right to vote. That's the Make America Great Again message. When was America great for black people? When was America great for women? Let's be honest. When was America great for queer people? When was America great for the disabled? When was America great for any marginalized community? But there's this perception. You guys get it because you're the smartest chat on TikTok. You see how it works, though? It's this fucking brainworm that says, listen, you've all been lied to. We were better off back in those days when black people didn't have rights, or when women weren't getting all mouthy with their feminist movements, or queer people weren't hanging pride flags. It was better when it was all dominated by white people. Things were better. We weren't having as much crime. Things were better. We could all afford to buy houses. Things were better. That's the brainwash, right? So again, disillusioned middle-aged men. Facebook, YouTube, talk radio style podcasts. It's the Rush Limbaugh effect, the Glenn Beck effect, all those kinds of things. How is judging Republicans any different than judging black people? Anyway, conservatives, not Republicans, but thank you for playing. The narrative, you worked hard and they still rigged the system against you. Red pilling for middle-aged men. Conspiracy-minded audiences. Already primed to believe hidden networks control global events. Alternative health communities, Q, UFO, paranormal, prepper forums, all these kinds of things. The narrative, the Matrix is real and we can prove it. It's powerful shit. Disaffected progressives and centrists. They feel alienated by establishment politics on either side. Both parties are lying. Wake up the system. Tactics, they appeal to anti-corporate and or anti-media skepticism, often rebranding red pill ideas in neutral or populist terms. You got to think for yourself. You got to do your own research. We've heard that. We've heard that over and over again. Again, the targets. YouTube, men 18 to 45 for the most part. Gradual exposure via suggested videos, letting your algorithm do the work for you. Reddit, young, curious skeptics, the gaming community. Forums like Reddit, subreddits, red pilling, 4chan, 8K, highly online youth, shock memes, irony, edgelord humor, that's Groiper, Twitter, X, politically active, journalists, crypto users, TikTok, Instagram, Gen Z, especially men, Facebook, Telegram, older users, recirculating conspiracy theories. It's all part of the list. And then we get into the funnel. And here's the recruitment. So I'm going to go through this. Okay, everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. There's a lot of reading here today. I'm sorry, but I think this is important for all of us. So I appreciate you guys hanging in there. All right, the red pill funnel, how ideological awakening is engineered online. Okay, stage 1, curiosity, the entry point. Open-minded skeptics, disaffected young users, primarily young men, or those questioning mainstream narratives. Where they get the content and what content red pillars use. Okay, self-improvement videos, political satire memes, economic or media skepticism posts. Here's the hook. You've been lied to. Here's what they don't want you to know. YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, subreddits. Low stakes curiosity, initial distrust of the institution is the outcome. That's the entry point. Finding community, validation. Users seeking belonging and intellectual validation. Forums and Discord channels of truth seekers. Lifestyle influencers mixing ideology with self-help. Here's the hook. You're not crazy. We see it too. Platforms like Reddit, Red Pill, Conspiracy, Telegram, YouTube comments. Outcome, formation of identity around being awake or awake but persecuted. You were right all along. It's okay. We're the community that sees it too. Stage 3, revelation, accepting the hidden truths. Users now emotionally invested in the narrative of deception. So they've been hooked. They've been convinced that they were right. Everybody else was wrong. Now it's accepting the hidden truths. Long-form YouTube documentaries, conspiracy threads, ideological podcasts. Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that. Ideological podcasts, a political, gender, financial, the psychological hook. Here's what the elites, the media, the feminists, the globalists are hiding from you. YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Substack, all these are platforms. Worldviews begin reorganizing around distrust and moral clarity. So your disdain for immigrants, you were right. They're taking your jobs. Feminists, they want to ruin everything. They want to put you, they want to take away your alphaness. They want you to be a low T dude home wearing aprons. Stage 4, the commitment, tribe, and loyalty. Fully ideologically engaged members. Memes reinforcing in-group pride, attacks on mainstream blue pill targets, group chats rewarding ideological purity. You're part of the right community now. We share all these same views on things. The hook, we're the only ones brave enough to see the truth. It's powerful shit. Like you are invested. There's similarities to 1930s Germany here because Schmittler, the rise of the Reich, the reconstruction of the Reich after World War I, violation of the Versailles Treaty, by the way, Schmittler was able to convince the German public that I'm going to resurrect our economy. I'm going to make Germany great again. I'm going to make us the most powerful nation in Europe. Everybody signed on board. Everybody signed on board. Once he hooked them, then his crimes against humanity were kind of overlooked. Like, yeah, look how great it is now. Yeah. Psychological. We're the ones brave enough to see the truth. Platforms like Telegram, X, niche streaming channels, a lot of the same social channels, but it's the subreddit, it's the dark web, it's 4chan, it's these chat groups, it's these conspiracy networks, right? Reinforcement, outsiders are framed as enemies or sheep. The enemy from within. That's where it comes from. Radicalization, the closed system. High trust members are often alienated offline, meaning the people that have established that are fully fucking red pilled, they're the ones that should be followed. They're the ones that should be listened to. The rest of the world sees them as outsiders and they're alienated because of their radical belief set, the indoctrination into the red pill. Let me see. Deep conspiracy content, calls to action or political mobilization, esoteric and or apocalyptic narratives, the psychological hook, the fight is coming. You're part of history now. Sound familiar? alt tech spaces like Gab, 8KUN, private Telegram servers. The outcome, worldview hardens into binary logic, believers versus the blind. That's powerful, especially for the targeted audience, right? Again, 15 to 35, but the bulk of that is between 15 and 25, and your brains haven't fully developed yet. You're easily manipulated. And I think Freedom talked about this, and I think Ash talked about it too. Well, we see people who are easily manipulated at that age, not saying they're gullible, but they're just not informed well enough yet. They've not gone through training to be critical thinkers. They see people like Andrew Tate, for example, attain all this success. And he creates this perception that success gives you the ability to abuse women. Donald Trump said it himself. When you're a star, they let you grab them by the pussy. It's all about status. If you achieve these things in life, it doesn't matter what you do because you've reached the pinnacle, especially when it comes to white men in particular. A society built by people who look like me to protect people who look like me, to benefit people who look like me. So once you're in, you're in. So that's why I want to talk about this today, because we've got to get our boys before they get red pilled. And it's not that girls and young women aren't red pilled either. They are. Just they're red pilled in a different way. They're red pilled to accept the patriarchy. They're red pilled to believe that I'm less than my man because I'm told I am, and I'm fine with that. I'm red pilled to be subservient. I'm red pilled that, if I speak out of line, I might get hit, and I'm fine with that. So we obviously know how damaging the patriarchy is to women, but I think Ash pointed this out. It's incredibly damaging to men. Incredibly damaging to men. The question is how we get them back. This is kind of what we're going to talk about. To me, I don't think it should be that simple. I don't think it should be that complicated. Where are your kids spending time in social spaces? This is why I don't think you can be their friend. Now, some parents have made the decision that their children are not going to have online access. We live in a digital age. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know how someone could survive without access. Controlling it, understanding where they are, what channels are they literally and figuratively, what channels are they spending time in? Where are they going online? Do you want to have that level of transparency and honesty and integrity with the kids? The earlier you have these conversations about giving your kids, especially your boys, the earlier you're willing to have these conversations with your boys to say, listen, you can tell me anything. I'm not going to judge. I may not like it, but I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to say there's not going to be consequences, but I'm not going to judge. We're here to have conversations. Exactly, Sam. Have conversations with your kids. Talk to them. Be sincere. Be vulnerable to them. Now, if you're in a marriage where if you're not going to get that from your husband or your partner, it's awful. I'm hoping that, again, we're not talking about changing every single mind here, but if people are here and people are talking about this live and people are thinking about these kinds of things, then maybe it's 2%, 3% of dads are like, fuck, I probably should pay more attention. And again, this is not just conservative dads. This is progressive and liberal dads too. We don't want our boys to be red-pilled. We don't want them to be indoctrinated. We want them to be raised to be critical thinkers, to know right from wrong. I saw this Instagram post and I thought it was really great and it's appropriate. I'm going to read it to you because I just thought it was great. First of all, for men to be able to, compliment other men, right? For men to be able to take a compliment from another man, for a man to be able to say that's a good looking dude, like Hector, for example, handsome man, to go with that voice, chef's kiss, and to not be offended by that, to not be so triggered by that, the fact that it's just common decency. There was this Instagram post that this person made, and I'm just going to read it to you because I thought it was appropriate. A guy left a letter under a windshield wiper on a car at a campground. Bro, I camped in the spot behind you last night. Let me just say, you're killing it as a dad. First off, I watched your wife guide you in as you backed up your trailer and nailed it on the first try without any yelling. Then your kids unloaded from the truck and were mild-mannered and well-behaved. You told stories around the campfire, and I had the pleasure of listening to the sounds of giggling and laughter. From one dad to another, you're killing it, dude. Keep it up. P.S. Whatever you cook for dinner smelled delicious. Little things like that. Little things like that. Again, trying to change the entire fucking narrative because we're losing our boys. We're losing them. They're being red-pilled. We're losing them. Are you going to sit back and let it happen? Why would you want that to happen? Why? The red pill is fucking real and it's happening around us every single day. Exactly. Leave the ego and the pride aside and admit when you need help and ask for help. I'm my own worst enemy. I don't like to talk about myself. I don't. I'm trying to get better. And to be honest, I owe this community. I owe this to this community a lot. Because what we do here is important. And I've had people tell me that. And I got to accept it. And I want to accept it. It's hard. It's hard, right? But we've got people here who are trying to point out that men are the problem. It's all men until it's no men. And unless we can break that fucking pipeline, because it's targeted. Here's the list. Curiosity, validation, revelation, commitment, radicalization. Unless you get out ahead of that, then they're done. They're done. All right. So let's see how this transfers. Because this red pill is pervasive in just about every area of our society. Because if you believe, you being men, if you believe that you're at the pinnacle, and well, you are from a demographic perspective, but if you're at the pinnacle, then you've been told nothing you do is wrong. It's everybody else. It's everyone else's fault. It's in particular, it's women's fault. It's feminism is to blame. Meanwhile, rates of violence against women just continue to increase. Intimate partner violence continues to increase. Wage gap gets wider and wider. All right. This pivots then into the crime epidemic. So the Bureau of Justice and the FBI data shows that the overwhelming majority of violent crime in our country is committed by men. And it's not even close. Any crime, any violent crime, they have to categorize assault as violent crime. Those that women commit, simple assault. No one's here justifying crime. But that if you go a little bit further, the incidences of crime that are studied and for women who've been either charged and or convicted of simple assault, and many, many times it's in response to a domestic violence situation. So once again, men are the problem. 18%, this is from 2022 and 2023 from the FBI, 18% of offenders in reported violent crimes were women. 82% then were men. Women have tended to account for a relatively small share of violent offenders. For example, men commit crimes 6 times higher than women do. In many cases, all crimes. And then when it comes to violent crime, it's even worse. As victims of non-fatal violent crimes, including rape, robbery, aggravated assault, men and women face somewhat different patterns of risk. You think? 48% of victims of violent crime, 58% of victims of violent crime were women. 58%. Intimate partner violence, females aged 12 and older experienced 522,000 instances of non-fatal violent criminalization by an intimate partner, while men experienced 100,000. The rate of intimate partner violence, 4.3 victims of 4 in every 100 cases of intimate partner violence, women are the victim. 0.001% men. Here's the breakdown by the specifics. Violent crime offenders by gender, according to the FBI. Schmurder, non-negligent homicide, 88% committed by men. Grape, sexual assault, 98% committed by men. Robbery, 87% committed by men. Aggravated assault, 80% committed by men. Simple assault, 72% committed by men. Overall, violent crime, 84% of all violent crime in our country committed by men. Is it women's fault? Nope. Women are the victims. 58% of violent crimes. Domestic, intimate partner. 58%. Who's to blame? It's not women. It's men. Calling all boy dads. How the fuck do we address that unless we're not calling it out? How the fuck do we flip the fucking narrative and say, no more? It's not on women. It's not their responsibility. They're just trying to fucking survive. They're just trying to live their fucking lives. They're trying to survive. Getting out of the car to go to the grocery store at night or the gym or walk across a parking lot. They're trying to fucking survive. So what the fuck are we going to do about it, fellas? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to address it? How are you going to keep your young men from being red pilled? Because the red pilling, and it's not just the red pilling here, right? It's not just the red pilling. That is a massive part of it, though. Women are not asking to be protected. Women in the chat, are you asking men to protect you? That's not what I think. Instead, maybe you're just like, don't be a fucking predator. Nope, see? Nope. Nope. No. Hell no. Nope. Nope. Don't assault me. Just leave us the fuck alone. Nope. Nope. It's like this scenario, right? Where I think somebody used this analogy and I like it. There's 100 red M&Ms in a bowl and one of them is poison. Would you risk it? That's what it's like for women to walk into a room with men. There could be 99, could be just really good guys, but one is not. How the fuck is the woman supposed to know? How, based on the rates of crime, it's 1 in 4 that are assaulted, 1 in 4 women that are assaulted. How the fuck do we fix it unless it comes from us? Unless it comes from dads breaking the fucking cycle? Your children model your behavior. Do you want them to grow up to be predators? Or do you want them to grow up to be just decent people? Remember this exercise that we did in an attempt to try to find what would make a better man. Right now, women just want somebody to be nice. I'm only speaking from what was told. I'm not speaking for women here. I'm only speaking what we've uncovered with this little exercise that we did. Opening the door, cleaning off the dinner dishes without asking, taking out the trash without asking. That's it. Kayla, you bring up a fair point. What if the dads aren't decent? That's the point. That's exactly the point. If again, your children model your behavior. If you're just an asshole, especially when you show it, that's why I talked about the situation in my house growing up. My father beat my mother relatively regularly. And, I was told that I'm gonna grow up to be an abuser too. I'm not. Never have been, never would be. Absolutely not. But that's what you get in many cases, because you're told, you're shown that's the way to be. I guess I can be that way. And what ends up happening? It perpetuates everywhere. I'm done with it. The only people that can fucking fix it are the people that are fucking doing it. That's it. Women don't owe you shit. Not a goddamn thing. Stop being fucking assholes. Stop being fucking predators. Stop being fucking threats. And realize that the only way we're going to fix it is by calling it out ourselves. Don't tolerate locker room talk anymore. Don't. You see it, call it out. Women, do you need somebody to provide for you? It's not a question of would it be nice. Want is different than need. Do you need somebody to provide for you? Of course you don't. Nope. Hell no. Nope. Nope. Women, do you just want men to stop being fucking predators? Simple question. Yep. So how then do we fucking fix it? The male loneliness epidemic. It's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. Let's talk about the politics side because it's related. Again, it's simple. It's really, really simple. Just don't be a fucking predator. Just don't be a predator. One in the chat if you just want, here you go. Thank you, Necronista. One in the chat if you just want men to listen and to grow. Is that hard? Is it hard? Nope. Just listen. I've said this before for men, because this is more than just the dynamic of relationships with women. Use this space. I'm glad Hector showed up earlier. Fucking love the dude. If you want to learn about other communities as a white man in particular, then go to spaces hosted by women, by black men, by black women, by queer folk, and just sit in the corner, scroll to the live, and shut the fuck up. Just fucking sit there and fucking listen. Just don't even comment. Just listen. Just go there and fucking listen. Our boys are being indoctrinated because we're collectively not paying attention and or endorsing it. Why? Why? Is that what you want? Again, would you want your daughter subjected to the things that you did to young girls when you were that age? Would you want your daughter to be catcalled? Would you want your daughter's body to be judged? Would you want your daughter to be subjected to a whack on the ass as they walked by? Would you want your daughter trapped in a corner and attempting to do whatever? Would you want that to happen? I'd like to think the answer would be fucking no. And would you want your boys to do that? I would like to also think the answer would be fucking no. So then how then do you change it? You accept it first, and then you say it's unacceptable. And then when you see it out in society, if you're with your kids, and when you see it happening, you fucking call it out. Have you ever done it, fellas? I've done it numerous times. It's not about me, because it's important to me. I can tell you this, again, women don't need protectors, but guys, you got to be willing to get yourself in between someone that you see being victimized and the person doing the victimizing. Seriously. Seriously. It's time. It's fucking time. We can follow this thread to elections. So we've gone through the red pill side. We've gone through all of it. We've gone through how dangerous it is. We know what the targets are. We know how they're targeting people. We know that they're in subreddit communities and in online communities and Telegram and 4chan and all these deep, dark web spaces and the gamer community through Groypers. It's an assault on our young men. It's an assault. So how then do we defend it? We get involved. We figure out what the fuck they're doing, because that becomes then a political base, because boomers are dying off, right? The largest, more voters are coming to the voter rolls every single year, which means by definition, voters are getting younger. So what does the right do? They're targeting them. It's a strategy. It's been effective. Men favored Trump more strongly in 2024 than in 2020. Women continued to lean Democratic, but the margin was relatively modest. The gender gap, similar in recent cycles. 55% of men voted for Trump. 55%. 43% voted for Harris. Conversely, 55% of women voted for Harris. 44% voted for Trump. White voters, white men, 60% voted for Trump. 60%. 38% of white men voted for Harris. 3% of white women voted for Trump. 46% voted for Harris. It's all white people until it's none. It's all men until it's no men. Therefore, it's all white men until it's not. Again, those numbers. 60% of white men voted for Trump. 53% of white women voted for Trump. Changes based on demographics. 21% of black men voted for Trump. 77% voted for Harris, although that was an uptick from Biden. Black women, 96%, overwhelmingly so, voted for Kamala Harris. Hispanic men versus women showed more divergence, 50-50, roughly speaking. And then Asian Americans, 55% voted for Harris, while Trump is around 40% of the vote. Every single demographic other than white people voted against Donald Trump. Let's combine that with where the funnel comes from. Let's combine that with what's happening to the youngest people amongst us, especially our young men. So right now, it's 60% of white men. If that number goes to 62, 63, 64% that still continue to support Republicans, we're fucked. We're fucked. I'm telling you right now. Again, if we had an election that we could depend on from an integrity perspective that wasn't gerrymandered based on race, yes, it's true. It's gerrymandered based on race. If we could have an electoral map that was independently divided, then Democrats and liberals would win overwhelmingly so every single election. Because the bulk of Americans believe what we believe. Healthcare is a human right. Food, water, shelter. Let's go back to the split in Congress, because I think it's important to kind of call this out again. 100 Senate seats, 26 are women, 16 Democrat, 10 Republican. Should tell you a lot. 435 House members, 125 women. So let's see, what's the math on that? 151 women out of 535 seats in our government. That's it. 26 women in the Senate are 26 women senators of the 100, 16 Democrats, and then 74 men. And in the House, it's 125 women, of that 94 Democrats. So we know which party tends to promote women more, although not enough. Much like Republican politics favors the rich, it does. Democratic policies doesn't do enough to protect the middle class, because that's true too. The majority of the population in our country, there's more women than men. And yet we are grossly underrepresented by design. But yet, women are the problem? Okay. Sure. I know I've got some more guests. Bring some more people up. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me up.
Sure thing. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm just, it's a little overwhelming. I've been trying to warn people about this whole conspiracy fact, New World Order for so long, and it's winding down. I don't know if you heard that, that Vietnam just froze. One person said deleted 68 million accounts. And so, and we can't kid ourselves. This whole digital ID, this, Trump. I'm generally a Trump supporter, and he screwed us over. You know what I mean? And really,
why are you a Trump supporter? But why are you a Trump supporter?
Because I try to avoid the conspiracy. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of psyops in the left.
Right, but aren't you? But you're being psyoped. But you're being psyoped. Do you understand that? You're complaining about being psyoped, and you're being psyoped.
I'm aware of New World Order or Mark of the Beast. I think we can't kid ourselves. I mean, that's
okay. Bro, we're not going to, dude. We're not going.
I know, but
okay, that is
you can't talk about it.
No, stop talking about it. We're not going there. Okay, I'm asking you.
Why can't you talk about it though?
Because it's bullshit. That's why. Because it's bullshit.
What, digital ID is that bullshit?
No, bro, stop. Why do you support Trump still?
CBDC, that's bullshit.
Why do you support Trump still?
Oh my gosh. So I mean, no, I'm really fed up with it. I mean, why isn't he doing anything in Gaza? I mean, why can't we talk?
You voted for it. You voted for it.
Right. Well, the point I'm saying is I have the ability to say I was wrong. And
that's
what I'm
great. But that's great. But what the conversation started by you saying, I still support Trump. So you can't say that he's wrong and then still support him. So the question is, what are you doing about it?
I'm wrong. What I'm doing is that it's two wings of the same bird, and when we are connected,
no, it's not.
You don't really.
No, it's not. It's not.
They don't. They both don't want to do. This. They both support Israel. They both go along with digital ID.
Bro, I mean, you have been indoctrinated. Okay, you have been radicalized to believe nonsense. No.
What? Tell me what. Digital ID is nonsense.
Stop talking. Stop. Get off the fucking digital ID and try to listen for a second.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
bro, I'm going to say it one time. Stop talking. Try listening for just a second. Okay, try listening.
Yeah.
You have been lied to, and you've allowed yourself to believe it. We have just gone through this exercise today about red pilling. You, sir, have been red pilled.
Give me an example.
Stop talking. I will.
Okay.
Stop talking so that you can listen. I will tell you when you can talk. You have been red pilled. Red pill takes on a life of its own depending on what conspiracy rabbit hole you want to go down, whether it be digital IDs, whether it be the New World Order, all of it. These are all connected conspiracy theories to take you away from what is happening. You are convinced that mainstream, that science, that intellectualism, that liberals, that feminists are the enemy. You have been red pilled. The question now for you is to say, okay, I've got to recognize this. There has to be a willingness for you to say, okay, maybe I was lied to, maybe I was fooled. How I get out of it. So the reason that you still support Donald Trump is because it supports your narrative. Because QAnon helped Donald Trump get elected. Were you a Q subscriber?
No.
You didn't believe anything connected to Q?
I mean, I think there's relevance to Pizzagate. When we are talking about,
get the fuck out of here. I am so glad we had that conversation earlier about red pilling, and here we are. Here we are. Do you see why these conversations are so important? Do you see why? Literally, we just covered every single aspect of what red pilling does. I'm not Q, but I believe the Pizzagate thing. He listened to nothing. That's why Donald Trump is a safe space for people like that, because they will support their bullshit. Exactly. It's a prime example of what we just went through. We just had this conversation. We literally went through the exercise, and there it was on full display. You still think our young men are not under threat? Iris, how are you this morning? Iris, are you there? Iris, are you there? It's a choice to make, right? So the whole Dunning-Kruger concept and confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance, they're all on display, right? They're all on display. And the problem is that when you've been conditioned so much to be indoctrinated to a level that's just beyond what normal comprehension would look like, it's tough to get out of it. It's cult speak. It's cult mindset. It's the trap. It's the indoctrination. There is no Pizzagate. There is none. There is no global cabal draining blood from newborns. That doesn't exist. It's just not true. The global cabal is Jeffrey Epstein and his sex trafficking operation being protected by Republicans in Congress and people like Ethan voted for. That's real. Okay? That's real. So think about that scenario. Think about what we just witnessed. Think about what we just saw. I spent 2.5 hours this morning breaking down red pilling. And what happened? The first guess that we bring up after we go through the exercise of connecting the dots is someone who's been red pilled and they don't want to admit it. What's the categories again? Hold on, let's break this down. Curiosity, questioning institutions, validation, I'm part of a community of truth seekers, revelation, simplifying complex issues, commitment, in-group loyalty forums, and then radicalization, potential extremism. Checked every fucking box. Every single one. How do we fight back against it? We have to get out ahead of it. I'm not even sure if it's possible anymore. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure if it's possible. Okay, I want to go back to this because I thought this was also an interesting study because I think it relates. Because there is a societal stigma connected to dads who stay home. They're told that they're betas. They're told that they're weak. Another stigma that men are forced to believe. I'm not forced, are led to believe. Why? What does that say? Why? I have told this story before. When my daughter got sick the first time, she had 5-day stretches where she was inpatient. So she's getting chemo and radiation every single day. So we would stay on the 5th floor of the children's ward, even though it wasn't really a children's ward. It's because they had bright colored paint on the walls, but it's a different conversation. There were 14 rooms on the floor. 12 rooms were occupied, and I was the only dad that was there on a regular basis. Circumstances, again, this is not about me, but it was a societal thing, and this led to something. I'm going to tell this story real quick. I always wondered that, and I kept asking the nurses, like, am I always the only dad here? They're like, yeah, you pretty much are. So every once in a while, someone would come up, a dad would be there, and I'd be like, hey, we would talk about the common thread that our kids are struggling with cancer or trying to fight it, and, I noticed you're not here very much. Oh, yeah, just, I got to work. Somebody's got to pay the bills. I'm like, okay. I respect that, but is there anything more important than this? And it kind of was like, the guy was like, yeah, no, but I got to do this. Do you? do you? What's more important? That falls into the capitalism trap, and that's how companies don't respect work. You have to be slaves to the system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then gradually, I started to see more dads, and maybe it was just coincidental. So I remember at one point gathering dads down into the playroom. There was people down there, and I went down there, and I think there was a football game on. I think the Jets were playing the Steelers, if I remember right. Anyway, I took this as an opportunity to say, hey, fellas, we should figure out ways to talk more. And that turned into this group session that I set up with a whole bunch of people. We met monthly, just guys, just men. It was just about men, for men, to have these conversations about why it is that you feel like you couldn't be there. Was it because your wife was a better caregiver? That's what some person said. I said, is your wife a better caregiver? How do you know? Well, she just is. Well, how do you know that? Are you not capable of caring for your kid? The script in the head, right? The patriarchy script running in the head. I can't do this because I'm not capable of being a caregiver. You're not? Is that true? I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. You're right, Maria. It's because men have not been raised to nurture. That's what I want to see. I'm going to be careful here. Sometimes the worst moments are the moments that you bond the most with your kids. And men have been conditioned to the patriarchy to not see nurturing, tenderness, kindness as anything other than weakness. That's how they see it. Right? Why? Why does it have to be like that? The answer is it doesn't. But we have to get out ahead of it, gentlemen. We've got to get out ahead of it. Now, I can think about this conversation that's rooted in humility. I was not raised, think about this conversation that a dad might be having with their kid. I was not raised to be compassionate. I was not raised to be tender. I was not raised to nurture. And I'm sorry if I did not show you that. I'm hoping that you can do better. I may not be the best role model for that, but I'd like to work on that with you. I'm hoping that you can change the script. I'm hoping that you can change the script so that we and you can then be better going forward. That's my hope. I'm going to bring up Heather. Good morning, friend. Hi. Hi, Heather.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Interesting conversation. I kind of got in on it late, but I totally agree that we need to somehow mentor our young men, or the older men need to mentor the younger men in compassion and caring, empathy. My husband was never afraid to cry in front of us if something really bothered him. He would let it out. He would let us know. You know, I mean, if something made him really sad, he'd cry. And he would, you know, tell the kids that's not a wrong thing to do. To be an emotional male. He got it. And I miss the heck out of him. I wish he was still around.
Me too.
But, you know, I don't know if there's like, maybe, I know I've seen in some communities where the older men do form groups to mentor young boys or young men and teach them humility and how to be gentlemen, how to, you know, not be a jerk, not be a misogynist.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's possible to get, you know, groups like that again going.
Well, like Norby just made the comment that I really like. Norby said, don't applaud a fish for swimming. It's true. If the bar is so low, is that all women are looking for is just for a guy to clear the breakfast table for dishes, then we're fucked and we're fucked permanently. We have to demand more. We have to demand more, and that change cannot come from women. It's got to come from men. It's not up to you to fix us. It's up to us to fix us.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know any way to do. I mean, again, I am not here to offer advice. It's only my opinion. The only way I can see it happening is you gotta fucking get involved. You gotta have the hard conversations with your kids. You have to. You've got to talk to them, but more importantly, you got to listen to them. Men have this desire to feel like we have to fucking fix everything. Stop trying to fix everything and just shut the fuck up and listen. It's not that hard. Just do it.
Exactly.
Just do it. Just fucking listen. Just listen to the women in your life. Listen to your kids. Listen to your friends. Listen to family members. Listen to people. Listen. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Fucking listen to people. Especially women. Just fucking listen.
100%. People, we all need to learn active listening, men and women. Because I see it in lives all the time where people, like the last guy that you had up, they don't listen to learn or understand. They listen to respond. So they're not listening to what you're saying. They're already forming their response or their rebuttal in their head, so they don't hear anything you said.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you, Heather. I'm sorry for your loss, but thanks for coming up and talking today. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, no
See you
problem.
later.
Love your show.
All right, bye. Thank you. It's not that, I mean, again, it shouldn't be that fucking hard. Everything that we've gone through this morning, and I'm so glad that Ethan happened to chime in because I think it's just appropriate. There's an example. That's what we're going to be focusing on. We're going to be focusing on NWO shit and digital ID. When women are being assaulted every fucking day, when 1 in 4 women are going to be assaulted in their lifetimes at least once, when intimate partner violence is on the rise, when men are committing 88% of the violent crimes in our country and all crimes in general, and we're worried about fucking digital ID and the NWO? What the fuck? What the fuck? Really? And the male loneliness epidemic is women's fault? What the fuck? You're right. The therapy isn't a bad word. Seek fucking help. Seek professional fucking help. Why? Just think about that. Just think about the conversations that we've had here. And you guys have seen me in other lives and the conversation I've had with people about how just the views and the opinions and some of the things that men say are just so fucking vile. Vile. Men in our country would rather have their firearms that protect their own kids. I have a video on my page from a live that I was in last week. Would you throw yourself in front of a bus for your kid? Yes, I would. If your kid needed a heart transplant, would you give them your heart? Yes, I would. If you could give up your firearms to prevent your kid from being assaulted in a school or unalived in a school shooting, would you give up your guns? Nope. And we're worried about NWO, and we're worried about digital ID, and that's a priority? What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Where are the strong men out there that would say, fucking hell, damn right I would give up everything. Everything to save the life of my kid. In fact, we say this a lot. People on the left, we care more about their kids than they do. We care more about their kids than they do. Why is that? Why? Why? They tell us every single day. Hey, Tara.
Hi, Steve. Can we also talk about men asking women to do the labor for them? And I'm not talking about I'm talking about the amount of men that I see on panels when they come up and they're like, well, you could just look that up for me. Well, you can just do the work for me. Why don't you tell me this? Do the work. Google is free. Do the work. Research it. Media bias check it. Fact check it. Why do women have to do the mental labor of researching things for you? If you want to do better, you should do better. It boggles my mind. And also the cancer thing, I love you, because same, my kid was sick. We spent 158 days inpatient, sepsis, sick, almost dead. So I get it, because there were a lot of times where my husband was the only man on the floor, the only dad on the floor.
Yep.
I'm
sorry you went through that. Hope things are going better.
Yeah, we'll find out here next week whether we have to go back for more treatment or whether we're finally all done. But the amount of men that just, I don't even know if I would call it laziness. They're so used to women just doing the work for them. And then they get mad when women say, we're not going to do the work for you. You have to do it yourself. It's wild to me. And
I know. I in every area, whether it be corporate America, whether it be healthcare, whatever it might be, there's the expectation that men are just expecting women to do the work. And to be honest, some women will do the work. How about this? How about stop doing the fucking work? How about stopping?
Yeah.
How about not doing it?
I don't do the work for my husband because we've been married 12 years and I've worked really hard he wasn't quite red pilled, but he was like getting there. And I've worked really hard to like deconstruct a lot of that for him. And actually you've helped a lot. I share your lives to him all the time. And I'm like, you need to watch this live. Like you need to watch this. You need to watch it on YouTube. You need to like, and and I've just, he'll come to me and he'll ask me a question and I'm like, Google's free. Like Google is free, media bias check what you're reading. Like, so I'm guilty of doing work for him too, but I've found myself a lot here lately, especially just being like, Google's free. Like Google's free and I'll help you media bias check it and I'll help you, vet the source and but Google is free. Like
Sure is. Hey, I'm pulling for you next week. Would you mind just checking in with me? Let me know how it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a test a month ago, and it takes about 8 weeks it can take up to 8 weeks for the results to come back. But the initial results were that they think the treatment is working, and they didn't see any cancer in the initial test that they did. So it's been a long 4 years. It's been a long 4 years.
I'll never forget that acronym. NED stands for no evidence of disease, and that's what you're looking for on those treatments. So in those tests. So I got you, friend. I'm thinking about you.
Yes. Thank you, Steve.
You got it. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining. Talk to you later.
Yeah. No problem. Talk to you later.
All right. I mean, look. I mean, that's just another example. Like, it doesn't need to be that way. Our society, you can go around the world, right? And you can go around the world and you can watch how again, many men have been indoctrinated into patriarchy, but you can watch how different cultures approach parenting. Like, you can watch other men and other dads engaging with their kids, like being engaging. I'm not talking about just going to their football game or just going hunting and fishing. I'm talking about all of it. We know that society and a lot of families break down, sadly, over sexuality. I have many of my friends that could never come out to their parents. And when they did, they were shunned. They were shunned by their dad first, and their mom just followed along. Can you imagine how horrible that must be? How fucking horrible. How horrible that your kid just can't be themselves around you. Why? Because the patriarchy has told you so. Because dads in that generation were red-pilled even before there was such a thing as red pilling. Red-pilled in a different way. Yeah. Just love your kids unconditionally. No matter what. Unconditionally. They're going to fuck up. Let them fuck up. Let them make mistakes. It happens. That's how you fucking learn. Just, if you make a mistake, just fucking make a mistake. Learn from it. What men can't do in our society, first of all, is acknowledge they made any mistakes at all. Oh, I wasn't wrong. No, you literally were wrong. No, I wasn't. No, you were wrong. No, that's fake news. No, you were wrong. Just admit it. Just admit that you were wrong and try to fix it so that you can get out ahead of it so it doesn't fucking happen to your kids too. Do you want your children to be accountable? Do you want your daughter, for example, do you want your daughter to admire you because of the person that you are, not because you're their dad? Do you want your son to be like you when you grow up? The good you, not the fucking predator, not the misogynist, not the domestic abuser, not the intimate partner violator. Somebody asked this question, what if the dad is an asshole? I hear you. I get it. Want dads to be more involved. I get it. I understand. It's a risk. That's the worst part. Our society has come to the point where we prioritize the patriarchy. Women and men. The patriarchy wins every day. Every fucking day, the patriarchy wins. So there's a risk when we say we want dads to be more involved. Just like George Carlin had this famous joke. Like if cocaine enhances your personality, what if you're an asshole? If you are red-pilled and you are somebody that's all in on the fucking patriarchy, then that's the risk. I have to think that people want their kids to be better than they are. The best compliment, parents, you guys know, the best compliment that you could ever get is when someone who you don't even know or someone who's outside of your home comes up to you and tells you, geez, your son or daughter was just amazing. They were so kind. They did this whole kind of thing. That's the shit as parents that we should fucking live for every single day. You don't want to get the phone call from the principal to say, yeah, your son was inappropriate in class and said something horrible. That happens too much. Too much. I want my kids to be better. I want their kids to be better. So how do we do it? How do we do it? We talk to them. We're aware of where they are. We're paying attention. Hi, Jen.
Hey, good morning. Great topic this morning. I'm okay. I just wanted to say two things, and I'm sorry. I feel like I come up here too much, but anyways.
You don't. No, stop saying that. Take your flowers. You're good.
So the first thing I wanted to say was that we need to stop telling little girls that a little boy likes you because they're mean to you.
Exactly.
Because that teaches little girls that when men are mean to us, that means something, that they have feelings for us. That's just like really, really a bad message to be sending little girls. And I also wanted to say one more thing, that we need to talk about how, and J.D. Vance did this during the election, about my value is not based on the man that's by my side. I'm sick and tired of men being angry at me or, hearing what I have to say. And of course it's the truth and they can't deal with it. And they go, oh, I bet you're just a cat lady that sits at home, or you're divorced, or you're single and all that stuff. I choose to be with the person I choose to be with because they value me and they respect me, not just because I have to be with somebody. It's so infuriating. And so I just, that is something that I want. And I'm a single mom. I raised my son since he was 3 by myself, but I was very fortunate to have a father and a brother to step up and take that male role model for him. And I'm blessed to have that. And he's grown up to be an incredible man. And he is a good husband to his wife. And and I just know that he knows that about the woman's value is more than her looks, her waist size, and who she's next to. And I think that men need to remember that.
I could not agree more, Jen. Thank you for saying that. And you're welcome here anytime you want. I appreciate you very much, friend. Be safe out there, okay?
All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye. That's right. We're looking for more role models. And to me, a lot of it has to do with erasing the fucking script. We talk about the patriarchy because it's there. It's pervasive. We see it everywhere. It's all over the fucking place. Everywhere. In every walk of life. It exists everywhere. And women who are here for our conversation today, you don't need me to tell you that. You know that. But gentlemen, you need to fucking hear it. You benefit from it. Again, system built by me. By people who look like me, to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me. So what the fuck are we going to do about it? I'm nervous. I got to tell you, I'm really, really nervous. Unless men start to step up, I don't know how we fix it.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I think that this is really important, a really important conversation, because you were talking about like your experience with your daughter in the hospital. And it reminded me of my dad when my mom got her 6 months notice, essentially, where they were like, she's got 6 months, whatever you're going to do, whatever. And he sent a letter into his company being like, hey, I need to take this time to be with my wife. And they fired him. That was their response.
I want to address a comment real quick, Victoria. Local trucker, you said, am I a bad father for working and not having the time to spend with my kids? No. But you just have to prioritize time with your kids.
Oh yeah,
it's got to be more important than anything else, Loco Trucker.
Mhm.
You're not
Yeah,
you're not obligated to your job. I understand it's important. You're obligated to raising your kids. The day you decide to become a parent, the day you decide to become a dad, that has to be the most important thing to you. You have to find the time for them. Thank you for that. That was cool. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Victoria.
Local, I want to address that too. I work full time. I am running a congressional campaign full time. You know what I make time for every single day? My kids. Because there's no excuse. We still have to split the house duties. We still have to do the thing. So, you know, working is great. Love that. But it doesn't change the fact that you still need to be present and active. And I don't bring my work shit home. I don't bring my campaign shit home. I legitimately take time with my children every day, and I'm active and present with them. So, like,
can you drive for a second?
I can drive. Yeah, there's no excuse. And like, look, it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm not saying it's not difficult. You know, yeah, Democrats definitely don't work. We definitely don't work, guys. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to work to live. I want to work to live, not live to work. Yeah, but this is really important. This is a really important topic. And, you know, going back to my dad's experience, he told the company to fuck off. He didn't care. You know, oh, I'm definitely working right now. I know that you guys don't want me to be working, but I'm definitely working right now. And it's just a weird thing, you know. Lord. Mister, why don't you request up? Have some testicular fortitude. Come on up here. You know, men are so expensive. Wow, I feel bad for your wife right now. Anyway, but this conversation is really important. Steve, I picked up a fan while you were here. I did invite him up because he's having some big fifis and saying how boring I am, which is just his misogyny, and I feel bad for his wife. Anyway, yeah, no, this is super, super, super important. Oh, you requested up Cupcake? Oh, Cupcake, come up here. Mr. Nice Guy, come on up. Come on
I got
up.
it, Victoria.
I got time today.
I got it. I'm gonna drop you down. I'm gonna do this one-on-one.
Okay.
Thank you for being here,
All
friend.
right.
I love you.
Love you. Bye.
Why are you her lawyer? She wanted me to come up.
Hey, bro.
I know you're gonna mute me, right? You're gonna mute me. You can't handle
Well,
it.
if you could
You're
just stop.
That's the problem.
If you could just stop. Could you just stop
Why
talking
do you
for a
paint
second?
your fingernails?
Can you stop talking for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you have any
Please say
self-control?
something intelligent.
Do you have any self-control?
I'm waiting for you. Spit it out, buddy.
Do you have any self-control? Yes or no?
Spit it out.
Do you have any self-control?
Spit it out.
Why are you such a bigot?
What's a bigot? Because I don't agree with your degenerate ways?
Can you tell me what you had for breakfast this morning?
I had liberal tears.
Nobody fucking cares. We don't platform that trash. As I was peeing, I was thinking about the comment that Loco Trucker made earlier. And I don't know if you realize this, Local Trucker, but you have fallen into the trap that we're talking about here, right? It's about the script tells you that the most important thing for you to do is to work. And I get it. I understand. I totally understand. I get it. Okay? The problem is there should be nothing more important to you than raising your kids. That's the most important thing. So it's a matter of finding time. Now, quantity may not be something that you can do a lot of just because of your life circumstances. That's why you got to lean in on the quality. Find ways to navigate through that. Find ways to push back against the script that's in your head. Okay? Find ways to make that the most important thing for you. Because this is what we're talking about. Don't allow yourself Don't allow yourself to think that I have to work. I get it. I understand. Believe me, I understand it. I get it. But single moms figure this shit out every fucking day. Every day. They work, in many cases, 2 jobs. And they still find time, as much as they possibly can, to spend with their kids. One of the reasons that I left corporate America almost 4 years ago now to go out on my own is because I was realizing that I've got some empty nest going on. My oldest had left the house. His brother was still in college, living at home between the home and the dorms. And then their sister was entering, high school. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to get these years back. I'm not going to get these years back. So I work all fucking crazy hours of the day, whatever, midnight sometimes, it doesn't matter. Point is that you've got to make it a priority. You got to make it a priority. It's got to be the most important thing. It's got to be as important as the next work order or the next work assignment. And I'm not saying that they aren't, but you've got to make it. You've got to change the script, because don't you want to do this? If you have a son, don't you want to show him by setting the next example? By saying, listen, yes, you're going to have a career, you're going to work hard, but there's nothing more important than you guaranteeing you have time to spend with your kids someday. That's the point. Do you understand? That's the point we're trying to make. Hope that helps a little bit. Hey, Drew.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I didn't get a chance to paint my fingernails for our previous guest, but maybe I will later, and I'll just go visit him in his lives.
He sounded deeply disappointed that you did not have your fingernails painted today.
Very. He loves me. Yep.
Well, a little background, Steve, because I really, when you do lives like this, I always really appreciate it, being a dad of a 7-year-old boy. But some background on me is about 5 years ago, when everybody else was sent home to work from home, that's when I was sent home, and I'm still working from home. I'm actually sitting here at my desk working and talking to you and watching your live like I do every day. At the time, I thought it was devastating. I'm like, I got to work from home. I've got dogs. I've got everything. At the time, I had a toddler running around, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me, working from home.
Yeah.
I take my son to school every day. I pick my son up from school every day. I sit here and work while he sits next to me and does his homework every day. I put him to bed every night. We read stories every night together. I'm here. And that's been the biggest blessing to me. It's one of those things that at the time I thought it was just like, well, how am I going to survive this? And it's been just, I'm fortunate to work for a boss that understands priorities. If I say, hey, I need to go, my kid is sick, or I need to go, my kid has an appointment, they are willing to work with me and say, hey, yeah, do what you got to do. So I feel extremely fortunate that I have that opportunity, because I don't understand, like after being through this experience, I will never understand men or any parent, honestly, who isn't with their child, who doesn't want to spend time with their child, who doesn't make time for their child. And I understand, there's folks who like, local truckers saying, I just don't have, I work so hard. I get it, man. I work 40 hours a week. I do everything around the house. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm taking care of the yard, and I'm constantly overwhelmed by the amount of things that there needs to be done. And I often feel bad because sometimes I have to say to my son, I'm working, I've got to do this. But I've found that there's a balance. You have to find that balance. And my son has to understand that I have other responsibilities, but that I'm always here for him. And
Drew, I don't know if it's necessarily, like I think in Loco's case, I don't know if it's necessarily that dads don't want to spend time with their kids. Many don't. I know that. I just think they're conditioned that their role is breadwinner. That becomes their number one role. And that's the patriarchy. That's the patriarchy talking. You fall into that trap. We all, maybe. I want people to think. Cats in the Cradle. That's why I played the song to start. I think I want people to think that what your priorities we know as a nation. I'll land my plane in a second here. We know as a nation, our priority here has been rich people and capital and power. So why then do we contribute to it? Why then do we feed into it? Right? So yes, it's important to work again, the misogyny and patriarchy talking for men, it's a sense of self. Like your identity is connected to it. You may feel like that's the only thing you can contribute to be the breadwinner for your family. So many men are conditioned to not have nurturing examples. And I think that's part of the problem. It's not that they don't want to be, they may not know how to be. They may not know how to be nurturing. They may not know how to be caring. They may not know how to be emotional with the other than anger and lust. That's the cycle that we have to break. That's the one. Would you agree?
And I would absolutely 100% agree. And that's where I'm at right now with the struggle I have because, I know I'm going to be there for my son. That's not an issue. I will drop everything. I will do anything that needs to be done to make sure he has what he needs and that he's getting the things that he needs. Not just financially, not just economically, but emotionally, everything else. I'm at that point now where it's like I'm trying to. He's becoming more aware of the world, and he's becoming. He's so smart. He reads a lot. He does all this stuff, and I'm trying to get to this point where I'm trying to help him grow into the man like we're talking about, trying to be a good man. And what does that entail? What does that make up? And how do you do that? And I got that stupid Gen X side of my brain where like when he starts crying, that for some reason, like I feel like an anger and I'm like, wait a minute. No, he needs to be able to understand that he's allowed to cry. What I have to help him figure out is when is that appropriate? When is it something where we can take over and say, okay, this is not the time for it. It's just a small slight. We can go forward. And when is it appropriate to say, hey, yeah, that's okay. Let your emotions out. You're sad. Let people know that. You're fine. You can let people know that and you're not going to be judged for it. So it's and I'm sure you've been through that too, Steve, where it's like you found moments where you're like, why did I say that to him? He needed to cry in that moment. I think we've all had that moment where we've kind of done the wrong reaction or we're just too tired to deal with it or something. So I'm constantly going through that. I live in South Carolina, as I've told you a million times. And so I worry about him growing up to be a man because, around here, like masculinity is, what have you unalive today? How squatted is your truck? I want to make sure that he has a breadth of culture that he can do musicals and also do rough and tumble sports. He can try a litany of different things without falling into that trap that's around us constantly.
I completely agree. It's about, to me, it's almost about redefining what masculinity is, right? And I'm not sure what that would necessarily look like, but I would love people to think in terms of masculinity as, wow, that man is masculine because he's able to express his emotions that are not anger and lust. That man is masculine because he knows how to nurture his kids. That man is masculine because he knows how to be vulnerable. He knows how to lead with integrity, and he's holding himself accountable. That's what I wish the definition of masculinity was. It's just not. So again, how do we reframe it? How do we reframe it?
I want him to be comfortable being himself and being kind to others and because he's a sensitive kid. He loves animals. He's just like a happy person, and I want him to nurture that. I don't want that to be, we went over to his friend's house, right? And his mom was talking to me about how I need to tell him that when he goes to the bathroom, he does what little boys do. He pulls the pants all the way down, to go
sure.
pee.
Drop him to your knees. Absolutely. Yep.
But apparently now that he's in second grade, like some kids were like teasing him about it or making fun of him behind his back about it. So I had that conversation with him, just as I said, you don't have to do that. There's other things to do. I said, just be aware of it. And the sad thing is I'm worried about how he's being perceived. And he doesn't care. He's 7 years old. He's just like, let it fly. But it's the fact that's a script.
But that's a script in your head, Drew. That's a script in your head. You're worried about how he's going to be perceived, right? That's a script in your head. If he's confident in who he is, then who gives a fuck?
That's true. That's true. And I think that's a constant battle in my head because it's like you want him to be himself. You're also worried. And we do that. That's why parenting is the hardest job in the world because you've constantly got these scripts in our minds. And I don't care what anybody says. It is the most difficult job. And that's why I'm very reluctant to judge the way other people parent because I don't know what their daily struggles are. I don't know what they go through. I can only do. And I'm one of those people, too, that I constantly, berate myself about things. So it's like, did I handle that situation with him correctly? We had a situation just yesterday. He has his own tablet. I do my best to monitor as close as I can the content that he's taking in because YouTube is a mess. There's some really great stuff out there, but there's some stuff that pops up that I'm like, what is going on here? So yesterday I went in, he had made some comment about being headshot or something like that. And I said, wait a minute. I said, what are you playing? I was in his room building a shelf. I said, what are you playing? Nothing. What do you mean? I said, no. I said, tell me, what are you playing? Nothing. And he showed me a screen, which he had quickly cleared off. I said, okay, the tablet's going away now because I asked you a question and you were dishonest. So that's our number one rule here is just be honest. Just be honest. And it was hard to see him kind of switch to that. Like, I'm going to be defensive because I've been like that in my life and I don't want him to get that from me. And I want him to be someone who can be honest and admit mistakes or learn why something might be wrong.
Correct.
It was kind of an eye-opening experience. It's just a little interaction that we had during the day.
That's good parenting, Drew. Again, we have to work hard, and I know you've gone through a transformation just since we've been friends on this app, and it's about making sure that we're aware of the script that runs in our own head and all these little things that pop up. Like, if your kid is confident in the world, that's the best gift that you can give them, to embrace that, whatever it is, as long as it's not harming someone else, harming themselves or others, then we of course, in the back of our mind, we hope that they're accepted, but they've already crossed that bridge to say, I don't give a fuck. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. And I think that's the best gift. And yes, parenting is the hardest job, but it's also the most rewarding job there is. No doubt about it.
That's all I want from him because that's and I'll land my plane here and I'll let you move on. But that's the thing I've struggled with my whole life is I've always tried to be like what I thought other people wanted me to be. And I've never been able to just be, I'm this and that's what I am. If you think it's nerdy, I don't care. I'm at the point in my life now where it's like, I just want to do the things I enjoy and I want to be with the people that I enjoy. I don't really care what anybody else thinks. So, but I still get those voices, man. And I appreciate I appreciate this conversation so much. And that we have this community to really talk about it because I will say that I do think that there's a lack of really significant program for boys now that have these kind of conversations. I think boys are kind of pushed into more the athletic side of things where it's, man up, do this, be macho, blah, 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 rub some dirt in it, whatever. And we don't have these kind of conversations which need to happen. And unfortunately, many men are not equipped to have these conversations. So I'm going to keep working with him and hopefully he'll be one of those men.
You'll be fine, buddy. You'll be fine. You're doing the right thing. Thanks for being here.
Thanks,
I appreciate you.
Everyone.
See you later. Take care. In honor of our previous guest, Mr. Nice Guy, we have launched a poll to determine what color I should paint my fingernails. So please feel free to participate in the poll. In fact, we might even do it live just to have a little bit of extra fun. I do it because I don't give a fuck. I like the way it looks. I did it because my daughter painted my nails when I was a kid. It's always been something we've always done. I just like it. Because color and joy is resistance. So feel free to participate in the poll. So thank you. Appreciate y'all very, very much. All right. I'll bring up Judy.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Judy. How are you?
I am good. So I wanted just to jump in real quick because we recently moved from Hawaii to the continent. And we have a son who he went through a lot in Hawaii with bullying and being harassed. And so when we moved here, we were really worried about him. And he is in a place right now where he is so confident with who he is that he does things like wears tails to school and paint his nails. And best thing that I can say is he has a dad who is 110% behind it. As much as at first we were like, are you sure you want to do that? And finally his dad was like, you know what? He knows who he is. He likes who he is. Let him do it. And I am just thankful every single day that he has this confidence now, because a year ago he didn't. It was a completely different situation. And he has become this child who tells me all the time, he'll put something on and I'm like, are you comfortable with that? He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't care what people think. And I wish more kids had that.
Agreed.
I wish parents would just let our kids be kids, because at the end of the day, they're just being kids.
Totally agree. I mean, I think in a lot, like you said, your son is lucky that his dad is like that, because that's just not the norm. By the way, purple wins. 50% of the people who responded to the poll said purple, so purple it is. Your son is lucky. I hope he realizes that someday as he gets older, right?
I think
because
he does.
That's really, really, really important, right?
You know, he recently has been very open about his sexuality and who he wants to be, and he got really nervous about it and really scared about it, and was kind of like, I don't know how dad's gonna take it. And it basically came out where his dad was like, I just want you healthy and happy. And safe. That's all we want. Happy, healthy, and safe. That's all we want for him. And as parents, that's what we should want for our children. Is just for them to be happy, healthy, and safe.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree. Thanks for jumping in today, Judy.
Thanks
I
for having
appreciate
me
it very
on.
much. You got it. See you later.
Okay.
Is it that complicated? I mean, is it really that complicated? We see it every single day. I mean, there are young men and women, boys and girls, who are struggling with their sexuality, not because they're struggling with their sexuality, because they're afraid to come out to their parents, especially their dads. What the fuck? That one just always gets me. Like, really? And really? Why? Do you think it's a reflection on you? You know what would be a reflection on you? Is if your kid felt super confident that you feel like your kid could tell you anything they wanted, no matter what it was. That's the deal in my house. I always tell my kids that I can handle anything you tell me, anything. I may not like it, but I can handle anything you can tell me. Just tell me. And I'm fortunate. That's the way it's been. I expect kids to be private about shit. That's part of being a kid. I don't expect to know everything. I just want to know the important things, and I'm grateful that my kids tell me the important things. I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that. It took a lot of work, and I think every parent should want that, right? Shouldn't that be the goal? Shouldn't that be our desire, right? Shouldn't that be it? Hey, Gen X, how are you?
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for this platform. I love these topics you bring up. So important. So thanks for providing just a space for us to talk.
Absolutely
awesome. And I owe you a message too. Like, I came up, and I apologize for, a couple things, but IPV survivor, all those good things. So I had a very, how can I say this? Disturbing and enlightening conversation with my local chief of police last Thursday. Oh, listen to this. And I'm not going to go into it, mindful of time. He was sworn in because the former chief actually demoted himself and went to an officer to a local jurisdiction. So that was interesting. This current chief knows my whole story. I went down on Thursday for something I totally forgot about, whatever, unrelated. We stood in front of the station, and I'll tell you the 3 things that he said, and then we can break it down. Number 1, he knows that I'm vocal about my story and everything, the abuse out of Ohio. You guys are all aware of that. Yep. And he says, well, and I mentioned no thing on social media regarding this jurisdiction. He says, well, you can go on social media and bash us if you want. And I looked at him and I said, I never said I was. And I said, if I do, it's the truth, the good, bad, and the ugly, all of it. I said, you guys have been very good to me here. Actually, they haven't been. I've been gaslit. That's another story. Number one. Number two, we're standing right in front of one of the main little roads. It's a mile jurisdiction. It's a smaller little town outside of Pittsburgh here. And the flow of traffic, it's like about around lunchtime. So there's some, traffic going through. And there is a man riding a scooter, not even a Vespa. It was definitely a scooter. And there was some flow of traffic, and the speed limit there is 25 miles an hour. And this guy was going like 8 miles an hour. You know what the chief says? He looks and says, he kept looking at this guy on the scooter. He says, his scooter's pinker than your shirt. And I looked at the chief and I said, I really wouldn't be concerned with the color. I would be concerned with the flow of traffic and how he's preventing the flow of traffic from moving. I looked at him and said that. And then he said to me, well, I don't have to be nice to you. And then I looked at him and I said, I know you don't. So there's so much to unpack there. And he knows my situation. I just called my local state rep. Of course, they can't get in the middle of it because it's, this and that. Luckily, the mayor of this little town is on my street. She's 90 years old. I really don't want to bother her with this, but it's still important. He knows, the chief knows everything I've been through and still says these things to me. I saw him Friday when I came in to do something, and I looked at him. I said, you're a human. You can be nice. He says, I know I'm human. What, all these little snide comments. And he, I can go into all the gaslighting he's done since the beginning. This has been going on now for 2 years. So yesterday, I've been thinking about this. I woke up Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning with anxiety from all this crap. Finally, yesterday, I talked to one of the officers there, and he knows my story too. And I unpacked all of this. And he says, well, why don't you go ahead and talk to him? I said, I have been. And I said, this is going to stop. This needs to stop. And then he says, well, maybe he had a bad day. I said, look, I work in HR. And I don't care if you work in HR or if you're a basket weaver. When you come to work, you leave your problems at the door. There's just so much to unpack there. Like, the color of a scooter. This is a chief of police. So you're dealing with patriarchy, the blue line, culture, DV, speaking up, the leadership. I don't know who raised this guy.
It's all part of the same thing, Gen X. It's all part of the conversation that we've been having today about these little microaggressions, whether it be racially oriented and or sexuality oriented, but it's all part of it. So it's the whole misogyny. It's all part of. We all have to be willing to call it out. So I'm glad you called it out. I want to thank you for jumping in today and sharing your story with us.
Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Keep that in mind.
It is indeed.
Are we to speak up? Are we to speak up or shut up?
Agreed. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. See you later. Take care.
Thank you.
And everything. Are we going to speak up? Are we going to stand by and be silent? It's no matter what the circumstance is, we want to be better. We got to be better. It's really that fucking simple. If we want to be better, we have to be better. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, I'm okay. How are you?
You got out of Leominster alive.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, dude.
This is a tough topic. I'm pretty affected by it. I have two boys, 8 and 10. It's the only kids I have, and I'm not a good parent. I don't think I don't know what I'm doing. I grew up. My father was a narcissistic, misogynist. Just not a good person. I don't talk to him anymore. But I put myself out on the road, and I think that's the most important thing is making money so the family can, whatever. I put that in front of it, and I'm missing my kid's life, and I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to be a fucking dad. I know this is a lot.
Just
I know you're trying to get out of here too.
no. I'm here for this. Listen, bro.
I'm not looking at the comments. I'm just doing. I didn't even want to come up, but I just want to call myself out. And
what you just did shows everybody here that you are, in fact, a good dad, because you're willing to recognize it. Listen, man, we're not perfect. We are not perfect. We are broken. Every single acknowledgement of what you've been going through is exactly the point of this conversation. That's the whole point. It's an awareness kind of thing. We all make decisions based on the circumstances that we have. Doesn't mean they're going to be right or wrong. Doesn't mean they're always going to be wrong or always going to be right. We make them at the time that we feel is best for us. Doesn't mean acknowledging it. In fact, acknowledging it is exactly the point, bro. Exactly the point. Your kids are young enough. You got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Thanks, man. I just want to let you know, buddy. I appreciate it.
Listen, I want you to know this, though. I want you to know this. Your boys may not know this, but I know firsthand, and members of our community know firsthand, the kind of man that you are. You're kind. You care about others. You want people to be better as a society. You want to support people who are trying to help people be better. Those things are immeasurable. You'll never take your fucking flowers, my dude, but take them right now. The fact that you got the guts to come up here and admit that, that's all we are asking for. An acknowledgement that you got some stuff you want to work on, and then it's a matter of doing the work, buddy. I got your back. You got my number.
Thanks, brother. Thanks everybody. Have a good day.
Anytime, bro. I love you, bud. See you later.
Love you too.
That's the shit right there. God damn. Whew. Oh my God. That's the shit. That's what we want. That's what we want. It's the humility. It's the recognition that I'm going to make mistakes, that I'm human, that we're not perfect, that we're broken, that we've got so many things that we can do to be better. And my friend, John, it's just a fucking amazing human being. And for him to have the guts to be able to say, fuck, I don't feel like I'm a good dad, but I disagree. I disagree. I disagree. And I think that nearly 700 people in here would say the same. Because the first step's the hardest. The greatest gifts in life are on the other side of the door of fear. If you can push through that shit and you can acknowledge our own misgivings and you can acknowledge the fact that we're all broken in some way or another, accept it from a human perspective and just do better. That's it. Bro, we fucking love you, man. We love you. We got you. We got you. Good time for one more guest.
Hey, how you doing?
Good morning. Hi, Ann Jones. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for this platform. I have only been listening to you for maybe about a few days, but your live is very impactful, and I appreciate you coming on these lives and having these conversations with people. To the gentleman that was on the live before, I can honestly say I've been through the same feeling, actually recently myself. I went through major depression and anxiety. I lost my shit. I started having intrusive thoughts. I started having having thoughts of myself in positions where I was unalive. I would be bathing my son and thinking of myself, unalive in the bathtub, or staring up at the ceiling and thinking of myself hanging from the ceiling fan. And it was horrible. It was horrible, and it scared me. And I had to seek help. And I felt like shit. I felt like I failed in a lot of ways, not just as a mom, but as a wife, because I felt like I had to step back. And I had to step back, and I felt like, okay, you know, my husband, he grew up with a mom who went through that as well. And so I felt like I didn't want to have to put him through that as a wife when he grew up with that, with his mom being like that. And I know how impactful it was to him. And it scared me to have to put my son through that as well. And I felt like a failure. And, you know, it was my father-in-law who came to me, and he's like, don't feel like that. We're here for you. And there's always going to be a moment in time where you're not at 100%. None of us are always at 100% all the time. And it's okay to have, this is why you have that partner to help you pick up that slack. And so me and my husband have now kind of a system in place where he comes home and he's like, where are you at? Even my son says, he's like, we say, what's your battery at? And I'll say, okay, I'm at 20%. And he's like, okay, well, I can pick up, and I could be at 80% today. And maybe the next day my husband won't be like, well, I'm at 60% right now. I said, okay, well, I got the other portion of it. And even my son has picked up on it, and he goes, I said, well, I'll tell him, what's your battery at? And he'll say, I'm at Googleplex. I'm like, oh, you're supercharged. Okay. Like, we got this, you know, mommy's a little bit at 2%. Can we do a little nap time? And we have to like pick up that slack for each other sometimes. And sometimes you don't have that, especially if you're a single parent, and that's okay too. There's, you know, you have your village, whether that be friends, whether that be grandma and grandpa, whether that be, you know, whoever is around you that can help you pick up that other percentage. And even for my son to understand that, like, mommy's battery is not at 100% all the time, that it's okay. And, you know, like, let me get charged up, and then I can, you know, then we can play, then we can do those things. And it's, you know, and it is hard as a parent, because, you know, you don't always know what you do. I'm an older mom myself. I'm 40 with a 4-year-old, and
good for you.
And even at my age, I think you know, my family were highly educated and all that other stuff. I've never felt the most stupid in my life the moment that my child was born. Right? That was the moment that I felt the most stupid in my entire, you know, you're used to being like a young, you know, people who are young parents, 18, 19, you're used to kind of being dumb and learning and kind of, and then I had my child when I was 36, 37, and I'm thinking I'm done growing. I'm done, you know, learning. I'm smart. I've developed. I have my career, all this other stuff. And then they hand you this baby. Yep. And you're like, man, I feel dumb. And you feel like I should know better. I should know how to do this, or I should be better at this than the 18-year-old who's just having a kid. And that is not the case at all. You are still in that mode of learning. I've never felt so stupid in my entire life, but you work at it and you keep on going. And I tell people all the time, you know, kids don't their brain doesn't fully develop until 25? And like you said, you still have time. You still have time. You can still mess up and still come back from it. They're not developed yet. They're, you know, and just and like you said, the fact that you asked the question, like, am I doing a good job, or I feel like I'm failing? Just being able to be reflective of that and saying, like, I'm not perfect, means that you're working at being quote unquote perfect. We're never going to be perfect, but, like, you know, the fact that that any parent would recognize, like, dang, I messed up, just means that you have the ability to correct it.
something you said too about how there's no book. In fact, the most important job is being a parent, and you can't practice. You become a parent the day that your kid is born, and then you're there to figure it out. And one of my mods said this, and I think that this is really important for you. The fact that you feel vulnerable enough and honest enough with your kids to say, hey, you know what? I'm not okay at this moment. And to have that be that level of vulnerability that you can have with your own children, to let them know that is awesome. And I've heard the rule of 10 or the rule of 100 before. As long as both parents equal 100, that's ideal. Single parents, you know what? We're kind of stuck. Got to figure that you kind of have to run it 100, as close to 100 as you can. It's impossible, though. So I appreciate you jumping in today, Ed Jones, and sharing that story with us. Thank you so very, very much. And you're doing a great job. You. Appreciate you. You got it. See you later. Take care. I think it's a great stop. I think that's a great point to wrap, actually. Listen, Fish, I know you're still listening, dude. You gained a lot of respect from the people in the comment section today in our mod community by your willingness, first of all, to accept maybe some things that you want to work on and to share it publicly. That's some big fucking shit, bro. That's some big shit. I will leave people with this. There's so much more to this topic that we can uncover, but for dads, be like Fish. For dads, be like Drew. For dads, don't be like Mr. Nice Guy. Be humble. Be vulnerable. Be transparent. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your own feelings. You're going to have bad days. You're going to be in a bad mood. You're going to be an asshole. Let your kids know. They just want to know how you're doing. Our children just want us to be happy at the end of the day. They just want us to be happy. And if you're having a bad day, just listen, guys, I need a break. I need 10 minutes to myself. I'm not in a good headspace. And they want to know that because, first of all, if dads do that, it shows your boys that it's okay to not be okay. Who the fuck are you trying to fool? Yourself, most likely. I got it. And thank you, Tiff. As Gen Xers, we're just taught to throw some fucking dirt on it. You'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll throw some dirt on it. No. You can't throw dirt on your emotions. If you're having a bad day, then have a bad day. It's okay. We're fucking human. The question is, how then do we get the message to our young men that it's okay to be that? And I think the only answer that I have, guys, is modeling. The only answer I have is the vulnerability side. Just to be vulnerable, just to be honest, to show integrity. So now that we've gone through this exercise today, for the women in the chat, if you were to build a man from the ground up, please don't limit it to the bare essentials. Please don't just limit it to opening a door, clearing the breakfast table. Demand more. And then be willing to hold people accountable. And men, you gotta call the fucking shit out. We've got to stop normalizing despicable behavior, in particular against women. 88% of violent crimes in our country are committed by men. 88% across the boards. Don't settle. We're going to raid our friend Ash, who joined us earlier. Ash Collective. Head on over there, tell her we said hello. Again, I always feel humbled by the willingness of our community to be able to have these conversations. I do it because I know it means a lot to people, and I do it because I know this community engages. And that's the whole point. If we can change a mind or two here, or if we can influence somebody to perhaps change their behaviors, then it's fucking worth it. It ain't easy. It ain't easy, but I am honored to be able to have it. I love you all. Mods, you guys are the best in the fucking business. Smartest chat on TikTok. I love you guys. See you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time.